One only? Okay. Okay, we're on the clock, microphone's on. I will call this meeting to order, DeKalb County Commissioners, and the day's date is August 7th, 2023. First order of business. Dottie, you are
Good
up.
morning. Yes, I just handed you a form that will need to be signed by the president of the commissioners. Has to do with our, the ongoing, the health insurance. We have another form that needs to be completed. I'm not sure if you have to do whatever it is, but I'll let Bill go ahead and read if he needs to see if
the
there's.
stop loss thing
Yes.
you emailed? Okay.
Yep, it
I
was
just
the
want to make
stop
sure I knew
loss.
what you were talking about.
Yep,
There
Yeah,
probably should be some sort of a vote on the record on
yep,
it.
there you go.
Did everyone get a chance to go over this in the email?
Want a motion to
Yeah.
approve signature? So moved.
A motion and a second for the commissioner to sign, president of commissioners to sign the stop loss agreement with the United Healthcare. Any additional comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carries.
Wonderful, okay. Speaking of the health plan, we're still, going through the growth pains and working on getting systems in place so that we can be productive going forward. HR is working on a form that our employees can complete when they need to make a change to their health plan. Right now, the forms that we have are great for, getting on board with the health plan, but we needed something a little more down and dirty to make changes. So anyway, we're working on that, and had a conversation last week with UHC Surest regarding issues. I have one of those every other week, and so they let us know. Sometimes HR doesn't know what kind of issues pop up because the UHC passed out, business cards at our enrollment meetings, and some of the information goes directly there. And so just to keep us up to date, they get with us, and we have a nice conversation about how the issues that are coming up and how United Healthcare is resolving the issues for our employees. So that's a good thing. With the standard, we are still working through the implementation part. So that would be the dental and the vision and life disability. And so we're kind of hanging on, waiting to, we have some new hires that need to be enrolled, officially. And just to make it clear, all of those people are officially, but to get them in the system. We're waiting to be able to do some data entry there and payment of invoices, things like that payroll and HR and are working through with the standards. So that's kind of an interesting thing. Another thing that I was informed of last Friday, had a call from Bill at Apex that the person who will not be named, who was a former Apex employee, has been terminated from his current employer. So I don't know the reason why, but we were informed of that.
Pretty easy to guess.
Yeah, I think I got a good idea.
You got it? Yeah, I don't have to name names. You know how I hate to name names in meetings. So anyway, we have some hirings and things going on. Sunny Meadows, still housekeeper, and we have a person that we're waiting for a background check on, so that hopefully could be filled soon. Highway Department, poor Ben. He had an interview and the person didn't call him back, so Ben is still in the market for CDL drivers. I sent letters to all of the yellow freight terminals in, I did. You know me, if you don't ask, you don't get. So Toledo, Fort Wayne, and Lima, the closest ones. And I don't know if they will post our recruiting posting on their bulletin board or not. I don't even know if their offices are actually even open. But I thought I sent a nice letter, sorry.
You send that to the company or to the union?
Well, you know what? If only I knew the union. It was, it was to the actual offices.
Yeah.
So, who knows who's even going to open up the mail? I don't
Right,
know.
right.
You would think that the company would be happy to get those people back, working someplace else.
I would maybe think the union would be also.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
How
So
we'd
we'll
go
see.
about that, but maybe it's something to think about or
That's
dig
a
into maybe.
great idea. Yep. I haven't gotten those letters back yet. So, like I said, I don't know if their offices are actually even open, for anything, because they were just talking about closing down. Heard an article on NPR regarding this closing of this 99-year-old company, and some of the drivers are worried that they're not even going to get their pension. That's really going to be a tough one. You work 36 years, this one guy, and he's just not even sure. It's sad. But if maybe any of those would like to be a snowplow driver or whatever for us, we'd be happy to entertain the idea. So, like I said, if you don't ask, you don't get. The health department interviews for RN. We had another good resume over the weekend. Passed that on to Cheryl yesterday. So hopefully she's getting close to wrapping that up. Development services with the code enforcement. We are in doing background checks on the candidate, and I will be able to let you know more after those things go through.
Does this candidate look pretty good as far as,
Oh, yeah.
at this point? Real good?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Because I had another possibility if not.
Yep. So we're very, excited about that.
Okay.
The Veteran Services Officer, the assistant, Rhonda informed me on Friday night that she has offered the position to somebody, and they have accepted it contingent upon, our background checks. So Lindsay will be busy this morning doing those background checks in our MVRs. So more to come on that one also. Community corrections, they have some really good candidates for their probation officer position, and there was a separation on Friday of a residential officer. So Michelle and I'm sure we'll be talking about whether or not we need to go back to the drawing board, or if she had some good candidates from the last round. So we'll see about that. Still, nothing on the maintenance person, at least the part-time, but Michelle did send you guys and talked last Monday regarding the full-time maintenance possibility, sharing it with a couple other departments, and I wasn't sure if now might be a good time to talk about it, or if you guys are going to talk about it later, if we need to add any information that Michelle didn't already provide you, which I tell you, I looked at it, and it's the same information that she had provided to me earlier, and they've certainly done their due diligence, and it kind of makes sense. You know, if you take a look at our maintenance department, Larry does a great job, and we've now added Evan to what we do downtown. But honestly, you know, the highway department kind of takes care of their own stuff. But the other
Let's have that
departments.
discussion. I think now's the time
Yeah.
to dig into that at least a little bit more. Commissioners, any comments as far as the full-time maintenance?
Are we still considering it be a person that can handle maintenance for multiple buildings? Is that?
Yes.
Yeah, because that's what I'd like to see if possible, and someone that's,
Community corrections.
yeah. And someone that has a HVAC, electrical, plumbing background, so even if they don't do the work, at least they know, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That they know that, hey, this union's leaking, it needs repaired. This, you know what I'm saying? Just someone to
At least some
have some
mechanical.
good knowledge.
Yeah,
Yeah, they don't necessarily have to, you know,
yeah.
someone that can get on a ladder, someone that can get up in attics, someone that, you know, is capable of doing that.
Right, has the wherewithal then to figure out, okay, this is above what I can do. We need to call in the experts. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't expect them to have the gauges and Freon to,
Right,
you know,
right, right.
charge up our air conditioners, but it'd be nice if they could replace a start capacitor or a blower motor or something like that, you
Right,
know.
right. Reading through the job description, and I think the pay was, what, $22 to $25? Reading through that job description, I'm not sure you're going to get somebody
Not a
at
chance.
that pay rate.
That's a
Not a
$35
chance.
an hour job anyway.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another comment I had was, it stated 8 to 4.
Yes.
Am I assuming that's a paid lunch in there?
No, no. Out at Community Corrections, the people in the front work 8 to 4, and then there's an hour unpaid lunch. So, of course, this position could be different, especially since, well, it's a 24/7, you know, facility, and I would see that person, much like the previous part-time person, he kind of flexed. If something needed to happen after hours when, say, the office was quiet, you know, still going, you know, still having the operations in the back, they could come in and do that sort of thing. What I would prefer is that the hours not be stated as 8 to 4. You know, something more like what we have with the rest of our maintenance department, that gives the person the flexibility to come in. But that was what she put. That's because the rest of the office. Now, of course, the backside, the residential, that's, you know, they work 12-hour shifts and they're 2 on, 2 off, blah, blah, blah.
Well, in my mind, if that's going to be an hourly paid job, it needs to be 40 hours. If it's not 40 hours and they're on call 24/7, basically, then maybe it should be salaried.
I think that to me, it sounds like a salaried position because you're not, it's self-directed. You say, hey,
Well, I don't know how you make that an exempt position. I just don't.
Right, the person will not be, even though they will have a lot of executive decisions, they won't be supervising anyone, and there will still be an awful lot of hands-on. So it will be reminiscent of what happened with the position over at the sheriff's office, which is currently Tika Sloan. And Wagner, Irwin, and Shealy reviewed it and felt that it's too much hands-on.
really?
I don't
Yes,
think it'll fly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's going to be hourly. We agreed it's going to have, the pay's going to have to be higher to find somebody that qualified.
I would think so.
And if they're going to do snow removal, I think they're going to have to be in there earlier, at an 8-hour day plus the hour paid lunch or unpaid lunch. In my mind, it's got to be a 40-hour week.
Couldn't you make the hours flexible as needed? In other
Yeah.
words,
Yeah,
require 40 hours, but just say,
yeah, as needed.
as needed.
If he's got to come in early, you know, he comes in early.
Yeah,
Depends on
as
the weather.
required.
If
Yeah.
he's going to remove snow from the sidewalks, I don't know about the driveways, because we can hire that probably.
Yeah, the
for less
driveways
money
are
than
already.
what it would take to do it ourselves. possibly.
Well, yeah, because we don't have the equipment.
They'd have to have, right.
Yeah.
Right,
And
yeah.
you really want to salt those areas too, which means,
I think Jim's only charging us, what, $100 to do
Yeah,
Sunny Meadows, so
Right.
I would think we could
Right.
probably get it
yeah, I agree
hired
with
out a lot less expensively.
I think so.
The other thing then that I have is the travel between the facilities. How do we address that? Do we furnish him a vehicle, or do we pay him mileage, or is that part of his overall pay?
I'd about think you'd need a maintenance truck, you know, equipped with
Probably
tools. and-
toolbox or something.
Yeah, I think about, because you're gonna have to buy a certain amount of tools and,
Yeah. If you don't have a truck to carry him in, he's going to have a set of tools at every facility.
yeah, and to ask them to transfer the tools in their own vehicle everywhere is
Yeah.
probably not ideal, so
not-
I wouldn't be opposed to buying a truck and equipping it. And how would we budget this, though? You know, we talked about community corrections is the need for it, but how do you budget it if you make them a somewhat of a county-wide technician?
I think she had
You
a,
have to move it out of community
Yeah, we gotta move it
corrections
out of community corrections, is what I'm saying. It's
Yeah.
not
and just make it a
paid out of the general budget,
general
right?
county. Well,
she had some
assuming
ideas.
the council will appropriate it
Yeah.
and approve it.
She had some ideas on the funding
Okay.
in that proposal. I forget exactly what it was, but she had some money available
She
for the
could-
part-time position to
Her
begin
grant,
with.
yeah.
She can fund part of it with her grant, and then she was wanting the rest of it to be funded in a different avenue.
Okay.
So depending what department that is, and if they can afford it, like if it would happen to be central dispatch, they are also funded by different funds than county general. So it all depends on what departments they're going to be doing this at and where the monies are going to come from.
And then here's another. Are we putting this person as independent of our current maintenance department? We have Larry, we have Evan, and then does this person work underneath Larry? Is this person an independent? Something to consider.
I think they should all be combined, because they're going to have to cross-cover for
Together.
each other at some point.
Yeah. I mean, Larry's knows everything, the system so well, if he's gonna be coordinated.
Yeah.
I mean, that Larry's logical.
Yeah.
You say Larry's
Larry's
illogical?
logical. I heard that. He does. Yeah.
Yes, Rick, you had a comment? Mic on?
Susan is correct that, you know, the community corrections piece is going to get funded out of that grant, or that'll be their portion. For central communications, either from public safety or from the 911 fund, depending on where the money's at. But then if the person is also going to do things at one of our other buildings, that portion could come out of the general fund. And I know that the sheriff had just talked to me last week about buying a piece of equipment that they need for the jail that is also going to be available to Larry for all the other buildings. So there's gonna be constant crossing of where these funds are gonna come from. But I do believe that probably they should all be within a single department and under Larry. I think that would be the most logical thing. So, but then where do we put the person at the jail? That's the only one, that person is
Yeah.
would not be, or is
Yeah.
currently not under Larry, but,
The jail
That's
currently
something.
has a maintenance officer, yes.
And
I think you just leave them there, wouldn't you? I mean, the sheriff knows
would
what he
think so.
needs, and it's highly
Yeah.
technical.
That one's so specialized, I would
Yeah.
leave that one alone.
Yeah.
right.
I would agree with
Yeah.
that. They've got a lot of things.
Speak, you gotta get recorded.
They've got a lot of things going on in the sheriff's department themselves. I mean, it's,
Yeah.
they're doing something all the time.
And that's always been separate, and I think that could continue to be. I don't see any reason to include that into the actual maintenance department.
Larry, have you seen the software yet that we approved for the jail? How they're organizing everything?
I've heard about it, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I'd like you to, when he gets it up and running good, I'd like you to tell me what you think of it, because I thought it was pretty slick, so
Yeah.
it might be something we can use on all the buildings to keep track of our inventories and preventive maintenance and, you know, we've already paid for it, we might as well use it, so when you get a chance, when he gets it going, I'm
Okay.
curious to know what you think of it.
Okay.
Okay.
My only question about this position, I assume that they're gonna want to have it filled before the new year. Since we're doing budgets starting next week, actually, for next year, but will we have to do an additional appropriation for whatever it is they need, or is there already funds available?
Depends, it all depends. All depends on where it ends up coming from. Since we're more than halfway through the year, I don't know. I mean, they already have appropriations that could be transferred around without an additional, but I'm not sure how much they have for 2023.
All right, thanks.
Okay. Any other comments on that subject?
So it sounds like I need to get back with Michelle. We will talk a bit more about, the funding. We'll talk about the job description itself.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
And the pay.
And the pay, yes, the hours, talk about the travel. I'll just give her kind of an update on what we discussed. So we'll just keep this going.
Yeah.
We'll
Bring it
just,
back next
keep
week
going
and-
forward. I like it. Thank
Yeah.
you.
So if this is going to end up being under courthouse location with Larry, then Larry probably needs to be involved in
Yeah.
some of the say with it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah, yeah.
Point. Good point. I agree.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. For the Job Classification Subcommittee, our auditor has presented a job description and kind of a change for a review for a position over in her department, doing some reorganization. And so I heard back from at least one member, the chair of the Job Classification Subcommittee, and he would like for me to, and I already did, forward it to Wagner, Irwin, and Shealy for their review. Settlement, right? Yeah, there we go. Yeah. So, just making that department, giving it some tweaks. So we're doing that. And anyway, that is all that I had on my agenda. What do you guys have on yours?
Anything, Todd?
No.
Mike? I've got nothing. Susan?
I got nothing.
Okay.
All right.
I think we're good to go.
Okay,
We've
well,
covered our bases.
all right. Well, you guys know where I am, so if you need anything, let me know.
We'll send you a carrier pigeon.
Yes. Yep.
We can't send a bat anymore. They
Yeah,
can't-
yeah,
they
no,
can't get
better,
in.
yeah, right, yeah. Well, I guess you could still do the bat signal, but, yeah. All right. Thanks.
Batmobile.
Right.
All right, thank you, Dottie. Okay, Larry, have you got something you need
Real quick, yeah.
our attention to?
I know, we missed.
We did, the Larry and Dottie.
I've talked to the city about our garbage is outside. And I talked to them about the ones that they have and they wouldn't work for what we were talking about. So they have said that they will get us new ones that the front door, at the front of it will open up if we put a place to put them. So I talked to Jeff Cease, where the garbage cans are sitting now. He would cut the wall out, put a pad, and they could sit there. Jeff Cease said it would be less than $6,000 to do all four of them, because he's got to cut the wall out, put a pad, and all that.
Where will those sit, Larry? Where exactly would they sit?
They're at
Corners.
Just in the corners?
Each entrance, and what he would do is cut it out so it would sit there. The door would open up towards the street.
Towards the street?
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, the ones that
I
sit
know
through
they're
the spot that they
backside.
set up over
Yeah.
that curb. You'd have to cut that curb out because you'd have to set at ground level. So there'd be a little, yeah, that's why you had to cut the curb. 6,000 maximum.
Yep. And he told me, he goes, I don't think it'll be that much, but he said, I'm just shooting you a figure, so, you know.
What do you think? Get another quote? I think we should get another quote.
Good. Not sure who you would get.
Maybe Webb?
There's not very many.
Yeah, I mean, you got Henderson still a little, and you
Yeah.
got Cease, and then you have
Webb Concrete.
Webb.
He's given
and-
us some good,
Yeah, Webb would be fine to get a quote from. A lot of these concrete companies don't even want to talk to you unless you got a $100,000 job, you know, which I understand.
yeah. Well, Kevin has done some small jobs
Yeah,
for us.
I suppose we ought to have Kevin take a look at it, and
Yeah, let's-
you had to be
let's do
fair,
that.
you know.
Okay.
Cease does good work, so either way, you know.
So I guess my question is, Brandy needs to know if we're gonna do this, so she can go ahead and order them. She's not gonna do anything until I tell her, yes, we're doing we'll provide something for you to put these on. And I imagine it's gonna take a little time to get them, so,
And we're doing this because we want entrances towards the road for the cans instead on the
Yeah.
backside, right? Now, did these cans get lifted by a truck or by a person to
No,
get?
the street department pulls them out, and the garbage guys lift them up with the.
Okay, so they'll pull them out for
Yeah,
us.
city maintenance is going to pull them out.
Put them back in.
I see, okay.
I
I think we
would
should do
say
it,
go ahead and order them because we can always set them in front of that curb.
yeah.
Which if we decide not to do the curb cut, we can still set them in front of the curb. They'd be protruding out in that walk area somewhat, but I don't know. What do you think? Would that be a
Well,
problem?
I think we should commit to go ahead and do
Yeah.
the pads and so forth. I mean, considering the amount of money the city spent in downtown
Yeah,
Okay.
beautification and so forth, I think it's just being a good neighbor, a good collaboration with the city to go ahead and, you know, it's just, we know it's not gonna cost us more than 6.
Yeah. Okay,
so I'll tell her, go ahead with it.
yeah.
I'll get another quote from Webb,
Yeah.
and then we'll see where we're at, see
Okay.
who's
Yeah.
what.
I think it's a good
I
plan.
can tell you that just a couple months ago, I'm on the Waterloo Library Board. We had been trying to get in contact with Webb, and it took quite some time. And he told me just to go directly to Henderson's, and they
Really?
wouldn't quote for us.
Really?
He's got so much stuff going on. And not a lot of people.
So just
do
so you
it
know, in
is a
case he can't
problem.
get a quote, that's what we were told.
Well, I guess Henderson's still doing,
Okay.
I mean, it didn't take that long to get it.
Yeah. I'd call
try.
Webb.
Ours
I'll
was
try.
probably a
Yeah,
small
give it a try.
job.
while you're still here, Larry, that generator issue we talked about, I had an idea on a generator, and that is to buy a single generator, put it down by the jail, big enough to service the courthouse and the jail. And we build the new jail, move that one out to the new jail, and then buy a smaller unit for the courthouse and set it down there, because the wiring will already be there. They'll come up through the tunnel with the wiring to the courthouse. Larry, I talked to Larry last week, really not in favor of putting an area out here on the lawn.
Right.
It's just going to distract from everything, and that looks like the best spot.
How old is the generator that's down there now?
Oh,
25 years old,
I
30.
was gonna say 30.
Yeah, it's old.
It's
We
old,
can justify replacing that with a
We
single
can
unit.
justify
Yeah.
replacing that.
yes.
And especially if you can move it, then you get
Yeah.
a big enough one to power the new jail is the key.
Yeah, and they can figure that, the engineers can figure that out
Oh,
for us.
yeah.
So we need to
Yeah.
to power a 245 bed jail where it's going to be. That's what we've,
A 400 kilowatt.
yeah.
Okay,
I think that's good.
I will contact them and see what we can come up with.
Yeah,
Makes
see what
sense.
they say on that.
Okay.
Anyways.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
Thanks, Larry.
Okay. It is 9 o'clock, so we'll move on to the next item on the agenda.
Can I, Can I ask you to at least do claims so Leanne can
Yes.
get, so that you guys can sign that?
I'll move to approve claims
If that
as
does-
presented.
Thank
I
you,
will
thank you,
second
thank you.
that.
A motion second to approve claims and additional comments. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, the same. Claims are approved.
Thank you.
There you go, you're
You
welcome.
could move to approve payroll if you want to just knock that one out.
Let's just do payroll while we're at it.
Okay.
Yep, second.
Motion and second to approve payroll, additional comments. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, the same.
Pay me.
Payroll is approved. Okay. On to Resolution 2023-R-13. And we also have this ordinance 2023-0-5, DCC 16-1-8-1.
We need it's just like car and serial numbers, you know? It's,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
need more numbers and letters, but anyway.
Yeah, I think that's a V8.
Did you, I assume everybody has read over the ordinance that has been written up. Was that published, public?
Yes, sir.
48 hours.
Or did
It
I-
Good
was,
job.
yep,
Yes, she did.
last Wednesday, and they are available.
Yep.
And I didn't hear from you. Yeah, they're right there.
Okay, okay, so we're all set there.
Title only.
Comments from the commissioners? I recommend we do the DeKalb resolution first.
Okay.
The ordinance 23-25-0-5. Is that acceptable to the commissioners?
Yeah, I have no real comment. I would move to approve the resolution.
I think we have to read those by title,
Yeah, we do.
yes, before we can
Yeah.
make a motion.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to read the title there? Such a good reader.
Ordinance number 2023-0-5, DCC 16-1-8-1. It's ordinance for the 2023 SEA 4 funding.
Were you voting on the resolution?
I think we're going to do the resolution first, weren't we?
No,
Is that what
you
Bill
wanted to do the
said?
ordinance first, didn't you, Bill?
Yeah,
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
yeah, the ordinance first.
Yeah, I heard, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
I
That was what I heard.
misunderstood.
yeah.
Won't be the first time or last time.
Okay, motion?
Now you can make a motion.
Now we can do a motion.
My motion would be to approve the ordinance 2023-05, the 16-181.
Second.
A motion and a second. Comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, the same. Motion carries. We all three get the sign.
Yippee. Then will you read the resolution title, please?
Resolution number 2023-R-13, a resolution of the DeKalb County Commissioners accepting state public health funding.
I'll make a motion to approve that also.
And I'll second that.
A motion and a second. Any additional comments?
Yeah.
Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carries.
What about the second and third reading of the ordinance?
Okay,
Yeah.
do we have to have that?
Oh.
Do we have them when we aren't, like, charging a fee?
I don't think we have to since there's no penalties or fees,
No
right?
fees or penalties? Okay. I haven't had this come up before to.
I'm not
I mean,
sure.
Normally, I guess with ordinances, you just vote on them once and pass them once.
Yeah, I've only ever had to do them 3 times if we are charging,
Okay.
like, the public
Like the
a
buggy
fee.
ordinance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because there's fees, there's penalties and fees involved.
Fees or penalties?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
The way I understand it anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a good point. But I think you can waive this
Well, I was gonna say, since he's got the the dates listed here, we can go ahead and waive the,
Yeah.
I think you have a process to waive the second and third reading, so just go ahead and do that. And
and then,
we
Well,
can
we can-
research the other later.
Well,
We can suspend the rules and do the second and third reading today.
yeah.
That's what I was suggesting. Yep.
some of we suspend the rules and pass ordinance 2023-0-5 on second and third reading.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to suspend the rules. Any additional comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same, motion carries. Okay,
And I'll move that we approve ordinance 2023-0-5 on second and third reading.
Second.
a motion and a second. Additional comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, the same. Motion is approved, second and third reading.
Covered all the bases.
Okay. The resolution we're good on.
Okay, yep.
Yes.
Just sign. Okay.
Now, the
Back at you.
travel policy ones, I just put on at 9:30, but it's not, like, you can move it up if you don't want to wait.
Not a public hearing. You can
Yeah.
Do it whenever.
Okay. Travel policy. Comments?
Good.
You good with it? Read it? Good with it?
Do that last time, so.
I'm okay.
Motion?
I'll move to approve Resolution 2023-R-14.
I will second.
A motion and a second. Are there any additional comments?
DeKalb County Code 22-1-6A.
Right. Comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carries.
Okay, so I kept, that one's for signature. This next one doesn't need a signature, but I would like you to make a motion as well, just saying that you approved the update of the handbook policy that will go in, that is from the travel policy.
Okay. So we need a motion for the approval of the changing of the language in the handbook, correct?
Yes, please.
11.1 travel reimbursement.
Yeah, so moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion and a second to include the travel policy in the handbook. Any additional comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carries. All right. Minutes.
Move to approve minutes.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve minutes. Any additional comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, the same. Minutes are approved. And then travel.
So,
Now we don't have to do travel.
since you approved the changes,
Yeah.
you either can approve what was submitted prior to the change or just take it out, I guess.
I think you should, from a legal standpoint, approve what's
Yeah.
been submitted prior because it's technically
Yes.
not under the current change we just made today.
I'll move to approve travel as presented.
I will second.
Motion and second to approve travel. Any additional comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, the same.
But that can be your last vote on that, so, right?
That is the last vote. I do believe. It is up to the department heads. Okay,
Signing today.
Need a stamp.
next on my list, I have no trespass procedure. What do we got there?
I'd like to hear more about that.
Yeah, so I had gotten a call from Sheriff Brady Thomas about this, and he asked me to look into it. Actually, Bob Hardy, who's a very bright lawyer, you guys I'm sure all know him, he had enjoys doing research, and Sheriff had reached out to him first, and he, I think Bob Hardy was able to just kind of key in on what the main issues are on this. The reason it came up at all is that one of the department heads had talked to the sheriff somewhat confidentially about an issue on no trespassing someone from the courthouse. And it was involving more like a personnel issue, like somebody was harassing an employee of the office. It wasn't like a citizen coming in to harass a public official in that sense. So it wasn't like a public citizen sort of thing. And the question arises, who has the right to say no trespass in the public courthouse to like whether it's the auditor's office, recorder's office, assessor's office, whosever office it is. Apparently this doesn't come up a lot, but it's certainly something that the sheriff, and then I agree with it as well, makes sense to prepare for it ahead of time a little bit, because if someone's being harassing or threatening, it's important to be able to have a process in place. That's how it kind of came up. Apparently that situation may have died down a little bit, so it's not as pressing of an issue, but the sheriff was wanting to have this issue discussed. And it comes down to the fact that the county official, so let's say it's the auditor's office, Susan may not necessarily have the right to say no trespass into her office. She's certainly the elected official, but the county commissioners kind of control the whole courthouse. Obviously, there's some cross control that happens there. The sheriff controls the entrances and the security, but he's also somewhat under the control of the commissioners on choosing how to have security and what has to go on. There's a lot of mutual control levels. Same for the courts. They control their courtroom, but what about the rest of the third floor? So that's why then I in talking with Brady Thomas, he and I came up with that proposed procedure as a way to handle it. And I emailed you gentlemen the proposal. You don't have to do anything with it, but the sheriff and I thought it was something that was worth considering. It just sets a procedure into place. It also allows, the important thing is you do still have to allow whoever's being no trespassed to come into the courthouse with an escort to be able to do their business, because this is a public courthouse. The person has to be able to, whatever, pay their taxes, redress their grievances with whoever, deal with assessments, deal with recording documents and so forth. So typically just a blanket, you can never come into the courthouse, is not appropriate. So then it's basically just the ball bounces to you gentlemen as to whether you want to deal with it and create a policy, or if you don't. Or if you want to modify what the sheriff and I was thinking about.
What do you think?
Or you can think about it more and talk to the sheriff more,
I think it's a good idea to have a procedure in place, because you're treating everyone the same, following a different plan of action. If someone's unruly and you have to remove them, there's a procedure for it, instead of just But I just don't know how complicated I want to make that, though.
Yeah,
That's true.
well, it's gotta be legal though, too.
Yeah.
You know, and I think it's wise to address it considering the number of workplace shootings that are offshoots of domestic
Yeah.
violence issues and so forth. You know, it's good to have something in place that gives us some way to react.
Yeah. I don't have a problem with it. What about you, Bill? Mike, what do you think?
Well, given that Bob and Andrew pretty well dug into this, and Brady's happy with it, I'm not inclined to second guess the experts.
I don't know if Bob wrote it, I'll have to rethink it.
Well,
No,
I still didn't include Bob. No, Bob's pretty thorough.
I know, I'm just kidding. He's a good friend of mine.
Well, no, Bob did the initial research. I looked at the cases, I think. I met with the sheriff on something else, and we also talked about this in person. And so then, you know, based on the cases, I kind of drew up what we think we have to have in place to protect the rights of the citizens, but also.
Right.
So there was a case, and the key case I think that Bob Hardy found is that, like, let's say it's the assessor's office said, no, you can't come in, and somebody fought that because, so they got
Gotcha.
arrested for violating that no trespass order, and they said, hey, wait a minute, the assessor doesn't control it here, technically it's the county commissioners.
Right.
And the courts agreed. So there had to be some process to bring the county commissioners into play. Hopefully this just doesn't come up, but
Right.
it has come up once in the last, 3 months, let's say.
Has it
And
been
so-
repeated more than once?
I don't think so. And I talked to Don Lauer a little bit because we were talking on something else. Don and Brady and I were talking in my office. And it was something that he had concern, I don't think I'm misstating him. He had concerns about it and had thought about it during his tenure, but it hadn't necessarily come up. So it doesn't maybe come up a lot.
The only other instance I remember is the gentleman that got upset with Officer Boyles down there about
Oh, yeah.
the one that was on
Yeah.
the board
Yeah.
and practically threatened him, said he was going to kick his you-know-what. and-
Oh, really?
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, well,
And that's the only time I
that's a
remember.
slight, yeah.
Yeah,
There have been some issues with the city of Auburn too, with some,
Yeah, and it doesn't mean that you have to use this option willy-nilly, and you wouldn't want to do that. You'd only want to use it in extreme circumstances.
I think this is a pretty clean
yeah,
procedure here. I mean, it's not overly complex or,
yeah. I don't see any legal trouble with it. I would move that we adopt this.
So is this something that we just adopt as a procedure? Is it something that you
Yes.
now turn into?
Oh, like whether it has to be in a specific ordinance or not? That's a good question. I mean,
I would think it would have to, so that they have,
yeah, my
Teeth to be
intention
able
was to
to-
develop it into an ordinance if
Probably
you
want-
gentlemen
Yeah,
approved
no,
it
that's
here
what I'm
today.
saying.
Okay.
I would
yeah.
move that we proceed to
Yeah.
take it to the ordinance level.
Okay.
And adopt this. So,
Okay.
How do we sort these individuals out when they come into security, though? How do we know who they are? I mean, let's say, we have a no trespassing against an individual. He comes to security. Security doesn't necessarily know who that individual is as far as identifying him. Is that,
Well, if
how do we screen it? How
Well,
do we screen him, I guess is,
if someone then does go through screening, one of the first things is, let's say they go into the auditor's office and they've been told they can't, there's a no trespass, then the auditor immediately calls and says, hey, this person's violating the no trespass. Hopefully, they won't have any weapons on them because they've gone through the security. So, but they can immediately call the police and say, remove this person because they've been no trespass, just like remove them from Walmart or Kroger's or
there's
restaurant.
going to be so few of them, Bill. I mean,
Yeah.
we won't even get one a year. They'll know who the person is because we'll make it known this person has been put on the list. Get a visual of them, get a picture of
Right.
them, whatever.
Right.
have all that.
Yeah.
The deputy down at the front might even
Yeah.
see that person being escorted out the
Yeah.
first time or something
Yeah.
too. So
You do like Minority Report and do the eye scanners when you walk in.
hopefully
Free
we're not at
crimes.
that level yet. Yes. Like that movie though. Good
Yeah,
reference.
yeah. But I think it's a good idea.
okay. We need a motion for Andrew to write up the ordinance?
He did.
Yeah, I did. I
I
mean,
second.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. We got ahead of you.
Additional comments?
Yeah.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Okay,
Opposed,
I'll
same.
draft up an ordinance. Thank you,
Thank you.
gentlemen.
Okay, DART 2024 Board Appointment. Any nominees? I have one possibility. I would know next week for
I was gonna say,
sure.
you guys might not even be ready to do this. It just had come into the mail, so I sent it so you guys were aware of it, but it doesn't have to be done today.
Okay.
That's currently Rod Knox,
Yes.
Correct.
and he's not going to, he doesn't want to be reappointed?
It doesn't say, and she didn't say. She just
If
sent
Rod
it
wants to
because
be-
it's your guys' appointment.
Well, if Rod wants to, I think we need to know if Rod wants to be
Yeah, I
reappointed.
agree.
If he does, we should just stick with that.
Yeah, I thought he was quitting, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
if
are one
he's-
of you gonna reach out to him?
We probably should. Mike, you know him, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, why don't you reach out and see?
Okay. Yeah, it says your current appointment is Rod Knox.
Yeah.
Yeah, if he wants to stay, I
Say
have no
he's-
problem
he's
with that.
quitting.
He's really been real helpful.
Sure.
so. Yeah, I'll reach out to Rod.
Yeah, let's
Make
find
sure,
out.
yeah.
Okay, and we can do it next week.
Okay.
If he decides he doesn't want it, I have
Yeah.
a possibility.
Okay,
So you're gonna check
Okay.
with Rod Knox, right?
yep.
Great.
Public Defender, request for paint.
I didn't read that one. I got the email in Susan's, but I don't think I read that.
Give me
gotta-
read it.
I'll be happy to buy him a gallon.
I did
I
read
can look
it.
it up here.
I think it's
Here we go.
around $6,000. He has a grant funds, I believe, to cover it. Is that correct?
They're not really grant funds, but he has a supplemental fund.
Yeah, supplemental.
Yeah.
And that was in the area where the bat problem was.
Yeah, they had a lot of bat urine and stuff running down the walls.
Yeah, down the walls.
I think it's, would be, okay to have that painted.
It's bound to freshen up the atmosphere as far as any residual odors that might be
For sure.
floating around. He's
Yeah.
got the money to do it.
Yeah, I have no problem with it. It was $5,800,
Yeah, 5,800.
and he
yeah.
had budgeted $9,200 for the year, and he has a $34,000 balance, so I don't see a problem with it.
Okay, is that a motion?
That's the motion. I don't see a problem with that. It's a motion.
Okay.
I'll second, the approval motion.
Okay, a motion and a second. Comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, the same. Motion carries. How many square foot is that office? Do we know by chance?
It
Not that
didn't say.
Yeah, I didn't say.
Amazing what stuff costs anymore, though.
Yeah,
Paints? You buy a gallon of paint lately? Oh, my
About
gosh.
$50.
Yeah.
yeah.
I can remember it was
at
18
least.
bucks.
That's cheap stuff.
Yeah,
I
really.
used to get the good Bear paint for like $18 or Glidden, and now it's $50.
Yeah.
bucks.
A real good Benjamin Moore paint's about $100.
Oh, come on.
No, really.
Oh, my gosh.
Mic on?
Yeah, it is. Susan, is that coming out of a fund that we get reimbursed 40% since it's public defender?
I'm not sure about that since it's his supplemental fund, but I will ask. It's
If it's an
possible.
expense for the office,
Yeah,
we
they'll
should
do
be
the
able to get
40%.
reimbursed for that.
It should be,
40%.
but I don't want to say 100%.
Okay.
Yeah, but it should be.
Yeah, I was going to ask too, the supplemental fund, I don't know what that means versus
That's,
because we do get the 40% back from the state, so.
Yeah.
yeah.
There you are, we're back to 20 a gallon now, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, moving on. DART Audit Compliance Review Signature. And,
So we had, Bill and Jody and I, we went out to DART and listened to their compliance review.
Yep.
And there is a corrective action plan recommendation, and they agree that we, as you commissioners and DART, have a good working relationship. And we agreed when we were there that you guys would do the spreadsheet I had sent you last week, I believe. where we have to say when we do things, and you do like on-site visits and ride-alongs and things like that. So this letter, they wanted it on our letterhead, is just saying that you agree to complete those tasks and that we will submit the spreadsheet each year showing that we have completed our steps.
Okay, discussion?
Yeah, we talked about this, and I have no problem with it.
Is that your motion?
Yeah, motion would be to agree to the
All
our
your
technical
motions say
capacity
you have no
program
problem.
management audit agreement. So how's
I
that?
think I'll second that.
Okay.
Sounds all right.
Make it sound good in the minutes. Just do that for me, would you?
Gotcha.
All right.
Okay, motion and a second. Any additional comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carries.
Thank you.
We are down to miscellaneous topics. Susan?
The only one thing that I had, and I know this was sent to Todd, but I believe it was sent to all of us because I got it, was the proposed fee for service for 2024 for DeKalb Economic Development Partnership. And I just wanted to make sure our original plan was the same, or if you were going to increase it to his suggestion.
I have no intention of increasing it, and I already told economic development that.
That's fine.
But I'll entertain some conversation if you want on this. I'm on that board, and
Right. I figured that's why it came to you.
Yeah.
I still have the ability to change numbers, so I just wanted to get your guys' feel on, but we'll leave it as is.
Yeah, if we're already locked in for 24, just leave it.
Okay.
yeah.
I don't know, I'm thinking we need to look at some ways to cut some costs. We have some other obligations coming up that we're going to be pretty tight on. And I'm not sure we can afford this.
Well, I would say that we can't afford not to.
Well,
There is nobody in the county that can handle the information that they do if somebody happens to be interested in expansion or locating or wanting to know about workforce or anything else. There's no repository for that information except the partnership.
well,
So, I mean, if you want to just shut down any kind of development in DeKalb County, I guess you could.
no, nobody
you
wants to
could
shut
back
down
up.
anything, Mike. My concept, my goal has always been to lower our tax rates to the lowest in the state. And if we can accomplish that, we won't need any economic development.
Well,
They'll come knocking
I
on our
think-
door.
I think
wanting to
if
come
you
in,
think that
so-
people are gonna move
Let
here-
me finish, would you?
Yeah, okay.
That's always been my position on it. If we lower the tax rate, if we're good stewards of the tax money, and we can get these tax rates down, if we can advertise it to the lowest tax rate in the state, we won't need economic development. They will come. So anyway, I'll entertain the motion to what? To keep it the same?
What I'd like to do for this year.
Second.
A motion is second. Any additional comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same? Aye.
Vote, Mike?
Yes,
Oh, okay, I didn't hear you. You were,
I was very quiet.
okay, all right.
Quiet aye.
And we're at what, 110 or
95 plus the-
105?
105.
105 total.
105
It's
total.
10 and 95. We combined the two, right?
Correct.
Yeah, well, yeah, the 10 goes to the Northeast.
Yeah, the
Partnership.
regional partnership,
Yeah.
11 counties, right?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Okay, what else? Susan?
I don't have anything else.
Mike? What you got?
I don't have anything until Ben gets here.
Todd?
Really don't have anything. I thought I did.
Andrew? Last but not least.
I think it's something probably that Chris Gaumer will just handle through the Plan Commission and the regarding the fines and costs and attorney fees. I think we need to update those. We had talked a little bit about that in, I believe, well, one of the cases that we have pursuing against, some of the ordinance on public nuisance, I think, needs to be changed to be a little bit more clear. With the fines and cost in it. I guess if you want me to, I could work with Chris a little bit on that. And with you just to draft up a proposal and see if you're in favor of that, just to make the fines and costs a little more clear.
Is it not clear what the fines are, or have you read, I mean, you've read it obviously, and
It could be, well, I want to be careful what I'm stating on the record here because we have ongoing litigation involving
sure.
it. I would like to make it more clear, I
Okay.
guess is what I'm trying to say.
All right.
Without describing exactly what
I got you.
the issues are there. It might just take a little tweaking, like 1 or 2 sentences to tweak that. I mean, I could make a proposal and see what you gentlemen think too.
What about the amount of the fines? Are you,
I think we're capped at 7,500 by statute.
Okay.
No matter what.
all right?
I think that the attorney fees are capped at $250, which doesn't make any sense to me now.
Per hour or total?
Total. Which doesn't make any sense to me at all.
That doesn't even start your discovery. It's
Well,
like,
there you go. There you go. I mean, with litigation, attorney fees are like 150 or 155 an hour, whatever it is that I hired on at. And so that adds up, pretty fast in litigation.
yeah.
So I think we at least ought to increase the attorney fees and then make the fines just a little bit more clear. I mean, I could draft something up and you can use it or not.
I think
Yeah.
so.
Okay.
Appreciate you looking into that and cleaning up where
Yeah,
things need
yeah.
cleaned up, so.
All right.
Anything else?
That's all I have, I think.
At this point, I would entertain comments from the public. Anybody got any miscellaneous comments, questions, concerns? Come on up to the mic. We got some time to fill in here before the pledge, and
Andrew Provine's 3920 County Road 75, Butler, Indiana. Actually, just on the economic development partnership stuff, not that it was needed to be said before the vote or anything, I just wondered. So Mike, you had said that there's nothing else in the county to fill that gap, and there definitely may not be, but what about our Auburn Economic Development Commission and our DeKalb one? So DeKalb Economic Development Commission, I just want to know what the difference is, what they do in comparison to what the partnership does. So I was hoping you guys could just even have some open conversation explaining the difference.
Neither the Auburn or DeKalb County Economic Development Commissions are set up to currently, because, I mean, there's not even a budget for either one of them. So there's nobody, they're not set up to have all of that information, for instance, on workforce and available property. I mean, it could be, I suppose, eventually. But
And I'm not saying it should be, I just wondered what the
yeah.
real difference was.
Yeah, well, I mean, the difference is currently, neither one of them are set up to do anything like that. I mean, you'd have to have a budget, you'd have to have a person available, you'd have to have a point of contact.
What do they, what is it that they take care of? Like DeKalb Economic Development Commission, what is it that they handle?
Well, for instance, they handled the economic development bond issue with the Auburn Sports Group. I mean, that's Both of those groups only meet pretty much as needed
Okay.
to handle economic development bonds and those kind of issues. Now, the statute is considerably broader than that. There's much more that they could do.
Okay.
But again, you've got to fund them if you're going to have those kind of things happen.
Is the partnership, is that quasi-governmental? Is it fully private? I don't know how that.
Private.
It's private.
Fully
It's
private.
yeah,
501c3.
It's appointed. Each of the participating municipalities and government entities have an appointment to that board.
How much-
It's been funded out of seeded money.
How much information do they share with like DeKalb Economic Development Commission or Auburn? Like, do they share information back and forth? You know, let's say, because we're funding them, obviously. I think it was like $100,000 or something that we give them.
Partially, yeah, partially funded.
So if we fund them, but we're not funding our own DeKalb Economic Development Commission, do they share information since technically the county is paying for those studies or whatever they do? Do they share that back so that the Economic Development Commission of DeKalb or Auburn can utilize that fully since we're paying for it anyway?
Yeah, that information is always available with a phone call, and they report a couple times a year to the commissioners and all of the town councils and so forth.
A little clarification, he's right, that it's shared when it becomes public knowledge. In other words, there are works, though, that are considered confidential with the board.
Right.
That we're not
Yeah.
supposed to divulge until it becomes a reality for obvious reasons, you know, but yeah, that it will be shared.
I just wonder, do we have to have a DeKalb Economic Development Commission? Is that required?
That I don't know, Mike.
It's not required. Well, no, it's not required, except that in instances like we just handled that, the sports group thing, it would be necessary. You'd have to, if something like that came up and you don't have one already established, you'd have to appoint members and form one, because statutorily, that's the only organization that can deal with those bonds.
We have to have those votes in a certain sequence for the bond to actually happen.
Going back to, I think this topic has come up before. Number one, the function that the DeKalb Economic Development Corporation fills is a point of contact for outside groups coming into the county for factories, home building, whatnot. Before, and I go back to when I was on the Auburn City Council and we were doing this, it was handled by a private developer who was doing it simply because he knew he could build more houses if he was that contact person. The cities and the county do not have an individual that's dedicated as a place where outsiders can go and get information about the schools, the hospitals, the tax rate, the population, the workforce development. That's the function that the DeKalb Economic Development Corporation serves.
Yeah.
We get a benefit out of that because we don't have to hire a full-time staff to be on the Economic Development Commission. They have a function, but they're all volunteer people. So it is excellent. Now, one of the things that's unusual about DeKalb Economic Development that the other counties do not have is that we have opened ours up to the private industry. So we have private industry that is helping pay for their function. Others just have the county or the municipality input, but don't have the membership. I mean, I was a member of that commission or that development corporation when I worked at the hospital. I was representing the hospital on there because the hospital paid funds into it. So it's not all tax money that's going in to fund that position. And I don't believe that they take a position about what should or should not be developed, but it gives that, they run the website where people can look for what do you find in Auburn, or what do you find in DeKalb County, or what do you find in Waterloo. That's all managed by them, and we don't have to do that function, which keeps our staffing.
No, and that's good information. And I've seen some of their studies on like housing and stuff. I mean, Anton showed me some of those, and they were good studies. I mean, they had good information. I just simply was asking because we hear about the DeKalb Economic Development Commission, we hear about Auburn Economic Development Commission. And we know that we're funding economic development partnership around $100,000. So I just didn't know, Bill, with your comment on, money, et cetera, can some of that be taken care of by DeKalb Economic Development Commission, as opposed, save the things that need to be done by the partnership for them to do and take over some of it?
I'm looking at our 2023 lit budget, item number 31, economic development. We had budgeted 118,000 into that. Now, why are we doing that? And if there's no activity there, where's the 118,000 going? I was not aware. I hadn't really remembered to realize that until I just looked at it.
That budgeted amount for DeKalb Economic Development, the nonprofit, or for our own
That
DeKalb
is
Economic
for
Development?
economic development, and that is down, number 15 is economic development, King, 95,000.
Right, plus
Plus
10,000
the
for the,
118,000. So why are we putting 118,000 into the county economic development?
you mean as a budgeted item,
Yeah.
but not spending it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's there.
I thought that total included Kings, but
No, it's separate.
The economic development, I believe this was the one where is in there. I believe this is the one that is budgeted in there in case there's an opportunity that you guys want to purchase, develop in the county. But it's not actually just sent out like a fee with.
Or, wouldn't be spent on a private expansion.
But we could use that money elsewhere.
Yeah. And we can
And I
always
think we
transfer
need to
it.
budget it elsewhere.
sure.
I can't see putting, we've got other commitments ahead of us now.
We don't really have any prospects for buying
No.
any property or anything. In fact, we'd like to get rid of some.
We're selling property.
Yeah, we're selling, we don't have any money, we don't have anything to buy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not a
appreciate-
problem. It's not a committed amount. It was
Yeah.
just there in
Just a
case.
Placeholder,
Yeah.
basically.
Let me say that by me being on the board, I can help them read the room a little bit on what we're really looking for. So it is good for me to be on the board and us to fund them, because we can have some control of what they do. It's like when he gave me this price increase, I said, Anton, that isn't gonna fly. I said, and I didn't even think it was gonna get presented. You presented, that's fine. But I said, I'll present it if you want, but it'll end badly. And I flat told him that. I think he agreed. But they do some good, there's no doubt. I think I would like to guide them a little bit on issues that I think, such as the money they took from the solar companies for economic development. I didn't see that as good economic development for DeKalb County. But, I make my voice heard and they listen and we sit down and we talk, and I think I can actually help in the guidance there, what I think is good for DeKalb County.
And this is one of the things that bothers me. The money from the solar company seems like a conflict of interest, considering the fact the solar company is not yet established in DeKalb County. So they're trying to buy their way in.
Well,
In a sense.
in a way, I can agree with that. And again, since the solar doesn't provide any jobs, it does give us a tax base for the county. That's good, but I don't really see that as part of our big deal here at DeKalb County is to get people to want to move here, live here, and I think they're good at doing that. They are good at the numbers, compiling the numbers and encouraging people to come. I think the solar issue was a misstep on their part by taking the money, because it didn't provide, if anything, it causes people to move out of the county, not into the county. So I think it was a bad move, but I'm not gonna throw them out because of that, I just voiced my opinion to
Well,
them.
I appreciate that. And there are, 12 other people on the board
Yeah,
who
absolutely.
may have different opinions.
They have different opinions, but at
as
least they
well,
hear
so-
mine.
Yeah, yeah.
And they know we are their biggest contributor.
That's right.
Now, yes, there is private money there, but between the governments are 50% of their income. We're almost 30% of their income. So it's, they do need to
Auburn's
listen.
right behind us.
Yeah.
By just a few bucks.
I think they gave 50, didn't they?
No.
Oh, didn't they?
No, Auburn's
We had that at one time.
Is it 75?
Somewhere in there, I think.
But regardless, we have a big say due to the amount of money
Yeah.
we put in, and I think they need to know that, so. And they do know that.
Okay.
Okay.
I appreciate it. I just general questions.
No,
And thank you guys for
that's good
having,
questions.
the conversation is exactly what I wanted to hear, so, thank you.
Well, you know, and without them, too, you'd have all kinds of duplication of effort. If the partnership didn't exist, Auburn would have to have an economic development person hired. You know, I don't know, Waterloo probably might not be able to afford, or maybe have a part-time person, but, you know.
And I wasn't questioning the
works.
partnership. That was the duplication. That's what I wondered.
Yeah, they
you
were-
hear about these other ones. You just don't want to make sure that duplication doesn't happen. Let's make sure that we're
Yeah.
directing partnership takes care of this, DeKalb takes care of this,
Yeah.
Auburn takes care of this, and they're all working together and sharing it so that the money is used the best.
And in our economic development, we need to do a little better job as far as, you know, we spent a lot of money on the sports group thing, getting the cart before the horse. You know, there was some bad decisions there on attorney fees and stuff that were gonna be recouped after the bond was issued, but we should have had, they should have had the business plan first, looked at it, approved it, and said, yes, this is good, now let's go. And instead, they just kept going, you know, and it was a problem.
There was so much backstory to that.
Oh, I know. I'm not blaming anyone. I'm just saying that
yeah,
the process needs to be better.
Well, going forward from the little part that I'm involved, like members had changed for this year, but then statute also changed, and they now have to present a spending plan every year, which they didn't used to have to do. And there was some, what do I say? Some processes that maybe the board didn't have knowledge of how things came about because the attorney had always done it. And I wouldn't have had that knowledge because I wasn't always involved until later on. So I see it getting better because they've got these different procedures that have to be done now.
Yeah.
So one other thing I'll mention, this is really a pretty key point, is that unless there is a central point of contact for site selection people and for economic development information, a lot of times you just get overlooked. These companies that are looking for a place to locate or looking for preliminary information, if it's not easily obtainable, if they can't make a phone call and get the information, they'll go someplace where people have their act together and can do that. You know, so, you know, it all kind of ties in together. You know, I will say, and this is easily verifiable information, a robust economic development program and sustainable growth in the county is a far more efficient and a far more effective way to lower tax rates for everybody. You know, the idea that just having the lowest tax rates in the county or that anybody's going to locate want to come here, we can't afford to have anything that anybody wants, so why the hell would they want to live here or locate here if we don't have anything to offer? So going the other direction and having a robust and sustainable economic development program is by far a more efficient way to handle tax rates.
Realizing we can't agree on everything, Mike, I do agree that the point of contact is probably vital. That it has to be easy, it has to be accessible, it has to be advertised. So I can agree with that.
And that's one thing Anton does well. He's very good at networking with potential businesses or developers. He seems to, it is actually a pretty good group. The board's very diverse in ideas. I mean, there's Democrat opinions, there's far-right opinions, there's middle opinions. But you know, one of the things we talked about was abatements, and, you know, I don't like abatements, but there's times that they're necessary because of the system we're in. I'd like to see the state lower the tax and just say this is what the tax is, and we don't need to worry about abatements anymore. But if that's the system you're dealt with, you about got to do the darn abatements, because if not, you're left out. The law needs changed, in my opinion. But until then, the economic development is good at putting together another, and to give you an idea, they're talking about 3-year abatements now instead of 10 years. And there's a reason for that, you
And
know?
that's because the council, I mean, really dug into this
Yeah.
and came up with this new form.
Yeah.
So you have really objective metrics to be able to calculate.
But, you
those
know, a
things.
3-year, 100% abatement makes a lot more sense to me than a 10-year, 10% a year and figuring it out, and it just, boom, it's done. And in 3 years, you pay all of it.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
sometimes an abatement doesn't make any sense at all.
and I don't like them because I just don't like the idea, but it is a tool that's used because, but if you really think about it, the reason why you need that tool is because the tax rate's too high to start with. If the tax rate wasn't too high, you wouldn't need an abatement, but to say we're not gonna do abatements makes us at a disadvantage, just like PPP money when it came out. I didn't want the money, but if I didn't take it, my competitor across the street got 5 times as much as me. He could lower the price of his cars. So it's a game that needs change. The rules aren't right, but you got to play by the rules as long as they're there. And unfortunately, it is needed once in a while.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
You got more than you bargained for, but there you are.
It was good information. I appreciate it.
We killed 15 minutes.
I just got an email back from Tracy Bell. Rod Knox is willing to be reappointed. It looks like, she's saying that he's filling Dale's, the rest of Dale's term through 2024. So do we need to make that appointment immediately, or is that a 24 appointment?
It's for 24, but she's saying he's filling it through 24? Or
Yeah, that's,
through December of 23?
How is he filling another position plus his own?
No, he's not. He's,
oh, no.
he's,
He's, Dale's spot is VP on the board. That's, yeah, okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, she's saying keep him on for another year potentially because he's already the VP or 2?
Well, he's just wanting to be reappointed.
Yeah.
So,
And I have no
yeah,
problem with that.
Yeah,
Mr. Hummer had passed away.
yes,
Yeah.
right.
And so he stepped into that
He
position.
stepped into his position.
Yeah, so he must be up for reappointment.
Yeah.
I'm looking right now.
Okay.
I'd have no problem with that.
a motion?
Yes, he was appointed, Rad was appointed December 19th of 22, and it was just for 1 year, for January 1 to December 31st of 23.
I believe he was maintenance director for the school bus.
For the schools, yeah.
For many years.
Yeah,
Probably
yeah.
10, 15
Yeah.
years ago. Or
Coached for a while.
Yeah, coached, yeah. Yeah, he knows,
Yeah,
he's got knowledge of that
he's really helped.
industry per se, so,
Yeah, he's really helped Tracy out.
yeah.
I'll move that we reappoint Rod Knox to the DeKalb County Council on Aging.
I'd second that.
A motion and second. Any additional comments?
Let me look real quick. It doesn't say, do you want to do it as a yearly appointment? Or are you wanting to do a multiple year?
I thought that was a 4-year.
It could be, but I only have what we did with Rod, so you're wanting to do it for 24?
I would think so,
Maybe for whatever the regular term is? Is that how you could word that? maybe?
yeah.
I don't know.
I think that's the way to go.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, the same. Motion carries. So there is no opening, actual opening at this point.
No,
Okay,
no. I think I need you to sign something.
fine.
Just sign on that part and I can do the rest.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, well, unless there is something else from anyone, floor is open. In that case, we will take our break early.
I'm in for that.
Sounds good.
I noticed you cut the edges, it goes past the edge of the road, though. Every cutout goes about that far past the road. Is that by design?
Okay, we are back from break. And Mr. Parker, what you got today for us?
Good morning.
Morning.
Bit organized here. The biggest thing on my agenda today is we got bridge opening, for bids for Bridge 132, but that's not till 10:30.
Right.
Outside of that, just a couple of information topics. First one I'll tell you about happened last Wednesday. Around 5 of us, about 4:30 in the evening, we had a bridge, an overpass bridge get hit by a 550 dump truck with its crane in the air.
I didn't know that.
It didn't do a lot of damage. It did bust a chunk off the bottom of the beam on the bottom of the side of the bridge. So I'm working with USI at this point to get that scheduled to be inspected. It looks like it's probably just gonna be an epoxy repair. But we've got some coordination we gotta do with NDOT because it is on US 6. It's the County Road 61 bridge, so it's bridge number 7.
You didn't have to shut down the bridge, though, right? Okay.
No, I didn't know what I was gonna get into. Dispatch called me and said we had a bridge got hit
Oh, no.
by a crane and there's concrete everywhere. And I just immediately started thinking, oh my God, this is
There's a little chunk.
This is SDI road. I'm gonna have to close that road. I'm gonna have mass chaos and stuff going over there. A lot of heavy loads go that way daily, a lot. I got up there and it's a spot, a hunk of concrete, maybe 12 inches long, 2 inches thick. That was concrete everywhere.
Wow.
But hey, that's fine. I just soon roll up and see that and then the opposite. So that will be coming in the future. That will probably, should be all insurance paid, I'm assuming, but we will have to probably pay it and seek reimbursement.
Yeah.
But
Might know the truck and the crane didn't fare so well.
no, it didn't.
Not at all.
No, it looks like probably end up total on that truck.
Don't you, before you drive one of them, say, you know what, I better make sure. I watched that happen in Florida once. They had a big backhoe, or not backhoe, excavator. It stopped the semi dead right there. He was running 65 mile an hour and it destroyed the bridge. They shut down that bridge for 3
There would be
months.
so much kinetic energy there.
Wouldn't that almost kill the driver at that point?
Well, it caught the boom on the tractor. The truck went under it and it could have broke his neck. I mean, it stopped. When it stopped, it stopped within 10 foot. And I thought, wow.
It looks like where it hit the bridge, the crane was just up maybe within an inch or two where it caught it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I think he'd have been in a lot worse situation. But it did, the back, the cab, this is the cab, this is the bed, it kind of went like that
Oh, no.
on the frame and took the back of the bed
Maybe
down.
there's a driver we can hire for the highway department because he probably needs a job.
He owns his business, so he's, I don't know what he's gonna do.
Okay.
So, but either way, things happen. I never like throw stones because
Right.
it's gonna come back and bite you.
Yeah.
Like
You
the
know,
garage door.
That whole glass houses thing.
Out the shop.
No, he was very apologetic and,
Right.
I more embarrassed than ashamed.
Sure.
I'm glad it wasn't worse.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
It looks like it's probably just gonna be an spot epoxy repair. Try to get all that coordinated, why we got the lift and traffic control there and just do it all in one shot. I really don't speculate any damage. I zoomed in as close as I could on my phone, took pictures, there's no cracks through it. And
Bridge 7.
So-
How far is that out on replacement? Do you know? Have you ever looked at when that?
I didn't pull a report, that's quite a while, that's not that old a bridge, that was
Is
built
it?
SDI time.
early 2000 probably.
Okay. All right.
So it's gonna need a deck repair on top some point, it's starting to get some holes in it, but
Okay.
hope not for a long time. If it is, it's gonna be raised because that bridge causes us a lot of problems. I don't know why they didn't raise it when they put it in, it's not quite high enough for the loads that go down US 6.
Okay.
So. The other thing I got is just another information topic. Last Thursday was the meeting at the Highway Department. Things are progressing along. Got the approval to take the grade back down for Building 1. Foresight's finishing up the plans for that, but they did go ahead and give Crawford the approval to take that down to grade and to start digging the footers where they can keep moving. Their concern was is the steel erectors are there and moving kind of ahead of schedule on building 2, and they wanted to progress far enough on building 1 to keep them there.
Yeah.
Don't want
You
those
don't want to
guys
have them go
pulling out.
away.
Nope.
Yeah. They won't come back.
So I did find an issue while I was standing out there looking at building 1, the PIV valve for the fire suppression system is put in the doorway for one of the overhead doors. It is per plan, but it's going to be moved. FCI is going to take care of that.
Good.
So I asked for the plans to be revised for that. Again, accidents happen, you know, and them little PIV valves, it's just a dot on the plan. You know, you really, really got to watch it and look at it.
What is a PIV valve?
It's the valve, it's got a hydrant wrench to the top of it and opens the sprinkler system
Oh,
to
okay. All right.
the inside, so.
All right.
Yeah, it doesn't work in the doorway very
No.
well.
No,
Just move it every time you got to open the door.
yeah, just take the
Just
lawnmowers
move the
in
crank
and
this
out that
way,
door.
move it in, then.
You know, it's not in it much, it's probably within a
Yeah,
foot,
it
but
can't
still,
be
it
there.
can't be there. Actually, I asked for it to be moved, because even there's such a little narrowway between the doors on this building, I asked if we can move it to the north, so it'd be at the south edge of the current building, and put it there to feed that. That way it's just completely out of the way.
How far away from the building is that?
Right now, it's quite a ways, but I wanted it 6 to 8 foot off the building if we could. Then we'll have they'll put a couple ballards or something out there by it.
Yeah, because that makes it more vulnerable. The farther away it is, the more vulnerable it is to getting hit.
Yep,
So yeah, I think your idea is good to put it up next to the present building.
right. It's gonna take a little extra water line and some plumbing, and FCI is supposed to look into that with Crawford. Yeah, I think that'd be a lot better spot for it,
Yeah.
out of the way and
Oh, yeah.
less traffic over there. That will be a spot I'm envisioning probably people will park. So we'll have to put a parking block there, a couple ballards there.
Right.
Just to help protect that.
Yeah.
You don't want it getting hit,
No.
so. County Road 35 and 52 and 29 is moving forward with Brooks. Milling, patch and milling's complete. Hoping to start, actually I was hoping to start this week, Thursday, Friday with milling on 35. And finish Monday and Tuesday, so we will have millings hauling out to the new facility there,
Where will those millings go, Ben?
back to the southeast corner,
So you're going to go southeast, we're not going to go in the low area to the west then? Okay.
No.
back where all that crushed concrete was.
Oh, okay, all right.
So that will be started to haul out there this week, weather permitting. And they're scheduled to start paving that next week. So,
That's got pushed back a couple times now, hasn't it? Time-wise,
it's still within their completion time,
Yeah.
but.
as long as they get it done. Right.
And then County Road 40 bridge is moving forward. Did the hydro demolition last week on that, on the deck, and they're supposed to pour that Friday. I wasn't out there Friday, but I think, Dan, did that get poured? Okay. But that was supposed to have been poured on Friday, and then it's got a cure for a week. And then the following week, they're gonna come in and pour the approaches, or lay the approaches, stripe it, and then it should be open back up, help the traffic.
What road's that on?
County Road 40.
40.
Between 71 and
Oh,
75.
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So hopefully that stays on schedule, weather permitting, and get that road open back up.
Great.
So,
Okay.
Bridge 9 is complete. Final pay items should be going out soon for that. They was out, I believe they was out last week and put the surveyor marker on the bridge. That's got to get recorded yet. And that project should be done. I believe so. I got too many projects going on. So, you can imagine that.
Yeah.
I think that's all I have, other than outside of a wheel tax discussion and then opening the bridge bids here in about 4 minutes.
Yeah.
Hey, real quick on the County Road 60, that small structure that everyone gets hung up on. How would you replace that? I assume that elevation needs to stay, it needs to be at that higher elevation, the top of the deck for the water. but you have driveways on either end of it. If you were ever to replace that, how would you make that work? Would you have to elevate those driveways too? And
You know, the one driveway to the east, essentially, I don't know, they own all that property. Maybe divert it back further east. Be
Okay.
the same way to the driveway to the west of that structure. I think we'd probably have to help reroute that drive closer to the 69 bridge,
gotcha.
potentially. Honestly, I think that's gonna have to all be bridge down there.
You think it'd have to be bridge? Because it's a
That is
small
all-
structure now.
It's a small structure. That is all peat down through there. That structure, the bottom of that structure is set at the flow line, and you're correct, that size is to accommodate the water as it comes through. But the rest of that, it just continues to sink because it's peat and muck. So anytime you go in there and just build that up, that ground's not stable enough to support that, I'm afraid.
That's a lot of bridges. I mean, it'd be that bridge, 69 bridge, Bridge 9.
Yes.
And that intersection's fairly dangerous too, and on the corner of 60 and that'd be the one that
To the
goes
west,
to Auburn,
11A,
11A. I mean, that is
it's because of that grade.
that turn and that hill is,
Yeah, the angle.
there's no way that should be 55 there. That's dangerous.
45.
Oh, is it 45? Okay, that's
40 or
that's-
45 through
That's
there.
good because that's scary.
How much length we talking going across that peat bog? Quarter mile?
No, I don't think it'd be that much.
Not that much.
I'd have to scale that off. That's something I want to look at as a federal aid project. Whenever we get monies free, I would like to have, we'll have to have that engineered first. We'll have to have a plan done to even take it for federal aid. We should anyway. That way we got a better scope of work, what we'd have to have. That's on my bucket list here. I'd like to finish that corridor. You know, now we got the new Bridge 9 there. 69th bridge is decent. That road's really pretty decent shape until we get to that point. You
A
know,
roller coaster then after that.
yeah, because that's kind of the hiccup between 69 and 427, but we're talking a lot of money to do that project. So if you guys would like, I'd be gladly entertained to get some proposals to do that, but we'll have to pay the engineering of it. I would like to, it needs done. I mean, at some point, we got to do something with it.
Maybe next year we could entertain that, get this highway department garage out of the way and
All right,
get us above water to start first, you know?
yeah, get it started anyway. See where we're at, what we have to come up with on the engineering. That's not gonna be cheap. I don't think, I don't know, maybe it's not as bad as I mean, once you get part of it, it's probably pretty much the same all the way across. I mean,
The
pilings
engineering
and where
won't
they
be,
got.
it won't be real cheap. It'd probably be, I don't know, a couple $100,000,
Engineering,
I'm guessing.
yeah.
And then construction will be expensive. I'm sure. Because you know, we're
Pilings.
paying for removal of peat on 56 if we did go that route.
Yeah.
You know, there's either that or bridging it. I don't know what other options we have. That's what we'd have to
Yeah.
do an engineer study to see what we have. Well, being 10:30, if you guys are okay, I will move forward and open bids for
Yeah.
Bridge 132.
Let's do that.
Like Christmas.
Okay, I have one from RG Zachrich.
Just two bids?
Looks like it.
Wow. $100,000? Let's do it.
Sounds good, don't it? Okay, so Zachrich, total installed bid, $449,862.55. Yep, you get that, Susan? Have one from Milestone. Milestone's the one that's doing County Road 40 right now.
Yeah,
Zachrich did 9 recently. Total price, $562,429.59. 562,429.59.
Same specs on the bid? I
It should
assume?
be. Everything, we have an itemized bid proposal in there.
You'd want to review what they
I want
quoted,
to review
right?
that.
Usual procedure. Ben will go over that and bring it back next week, and then we can.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you guys are okay, I'd like to have you make a motion to take bids under advisement, bring back a recommendation Monday.
Motion?
Leave the bids and Ben will take them under advisement and report back to us.
I will second.
A motion is second. Additional comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carries.
Okay. Yes. Engineer's estimate was 426,558.04.
What was that again?
426,558.04. Thank you, guys. Yep.
Yeah, we've been hitting some bids less than engineer's estimate lately, and these both came over.
A little bit. You know, it's a hard market. A lot of it too is there's so much work right now.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that's what I heard from both of them, is that there's a lot of projects, there's a lot of bidding. I was hoping we moved this out, the completion date we moved out until June, I believe, of next year. And then we also extended the road closure time by another 15 days to help give them more construction time. That was kind of the request we received from the potential bidders, so in order to try to achieve a good bid, we tried to accommodate for that, so. But we'll take a look at these. Mitch, come up and we'll look at these and come back with a recommendation, so, because Zacharich's bid's close enough to the engineer's estimate. If everything's there,
Right.
fine.
Yeah, it's right on, 10% over.
I know it.
Right on.
But, you know, you think about it too, we bid it once and didn't get any bids.
Right.
So I think that would make justification
Yeah. Right.
to go with Zacharich's bid, even if it was a hair over, I would think.
Right.
This is the second time bidding it.
When did we bid that the first time? Was it a year ago?
No. Month ago?
Oh, okay. Oh, that's right. Yep. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah, we didn't get anything.
We got none. Yeah.
Okay.
right.
Okay, last thing I have, discussion was the potential wheel tax cost that I was asked to look at from the council, and Mike's been working on that as well. I believe he sent an email out to you guys with some potential costs, what we would be looking at. Did you guys receive that?
Yes.
Yep, okay. You know, I don't know the exact shortfalls. I think this number come from Mike for the 2025 per Jeff Peters. The potential shortfall that the highway's looking at, we're looking at just over $635,000 with that. With the commissioners, has historically always helped fund the highway operations for the restricted and unrestricted amounts. I know moving forward with the highway commitment payments and other projects you guys might have, I know that's gonna be cut back. To what extreme, I don't know. There was a $500,000 line item put in there for the commissioners was going to, in 2025, I'm not sure where we're gonna be at next year for '24.
We're budgeted for 900,000 for '24.
Right.
we were at 1 million and
1.2
Susan shaved it.
or 1.3, I think,
1.25
0.25.
was our original proposal.
Yeah,
So that's going to go back some.
a little bit, yeah. And this $500,000 reduction in the spreadsheet is just an arbitrary number
Yeah.
based on an educated guess, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the budget, and what we
Yeah,
project for '25.
Yeah, and I want you guys got to be comfortable with what you budget for us, because, I mean, you guys cover a lot with your lighted each year. I mean, the money that you give in the highway's been a substantial help to the funding over the last several years. We've needed it, you know.
But be aware, this is no way set in stone. Like Mike says, this is just
Right.
an arbitrary number. We are going to look at ways to
Yeah,
increase that or decrease that reduction. You know, whatever we can do.
You know, then we're looking at the annual deficit for what we have maintenance cost in the highway from the spreadsheet that was given to you guys in the last council meeting. Looking at about 950,000 annually for that. And then there's on this table, Brad worked up to reconstruct our 66 miles of roadway from give them a 5 or higher, which actually this would be a reconstruction. To do it in 5 years, it's going to be a 1.831 million additional a year.
Per year.
Yes.
yeah.
And then if we broke that out over 20 years instead of 5 years, it would be an additional 457,000 a year.
And and we didn't put a table in there, but if you take a 10-year and kind of go in between, it's about 900,000, a little over 900,000 a year.
How do you define reconstruction? What do you mean by what's entailed in a full reconstruction versus?
Full reconstruction is typically go in and start over.
Is it just milling the top, or is it taking it down to
It
the rock?
depends. Some roads will need just a mill and overlay. Some we can just build on top. Some will have to be ground, relayed back out. Some will have to be ground with cement put back in it. I mean, every road's gonna be different.
All right.
So there's not gonna be one size shoe fits all. I mean, some roads will be able to save some on, and other roads, what we saved, we're gonna dump into the other one.
Gotcha.
You know, so it's just, you know, we're talking 66 miles and the
Lot of
soils, the soils are very different in DeKalb County.
Every road, every part of the road's going to be different.
Yeah, you can drive certain roads and tell, oh, there's peat under this, you know, and then other roads are
And it
beautiful.
depends too, I mean, on the road, why did it get in the condition it's at? Does it have a lot of additional truck traffic or extra heavy weight? So then we gotta go through and make it a heavier road to accommodate for that area. So there's a lot of variables. So this is just a ballpark number. And just like this cost over the 20 years or there's no escalation cost in here. This is just the same number. This is just,
Yeah, there's no
FYI today.
inflationary
Yes.
adjustments in there at all.
you know, we're looking at doing, if we did 2 miles of gravel conversions a year, $140,000 a mile, we put 280 in there for 2025. So we're looking at if we did the 5-year plan for 2025, we'd be might as well say 4.2 million. Or 4.196339. Now, if we did the same thing, but broke it out over a 20-year plan, we'd be at 2,825,000. There is a little note down here at the bottom, and I haven't went into the wheel tax enough to know what all of that can be paid for, but there's a potential for a little bit of a shortfall in our Cume Bridge, Cume Cap from the new MBIS book I just got. Looking at, now they give projected volumes in there for costs. And I don't know how accurate them numbers are gonna be. That's a guesstimated budgetal cost. If I took that over the 6 years and stayed on rotation with our small structure replacement I've been doing annually, we potentially could be 310,000 short a year over the next 6 years. But
this could also be, we could also look at the Cume Bridge rates too, to mitigate some of that rather than put it all on the wheel tax side.
But there's other funds that 310 could still be paid from the commissioners' fund, it could be paid from the NVH fund. You know, it necessarily wouldn't have to come from the wheel tax if it couldn't be paid that. The wheel tax, what we're paying on the roads, we could subsidize just a little bit of a money shuffle. But I don't want to completely forget this. At this point, I'm not super alarmed about it because, I mean, 310,000 is a lot of money, but yet it's not a huge amount for the budget we're talking about. But I
Could be a
want,
factor, could be okay.
yep.
Yeah.
And it just depends on the rotation and how quick projects move forward, you know. You know, these numbers, you know, I guess it depends on what everybody's comfortable doing.
Well, you know, part of this discussion comes in, we're short, we're gonna have to do something, obviously, but if you convert more roads, which it sounds like we want to be doing, you're gonna have to buy more trucks, more drivers. There's legacy costs that come with this, not just in the construction of the roads, but the maintaining of them. You know, these trucks at 300 grand each get expensive quick. Drivers at 60, 70,000 with benefits get, you know, so that needs to be figured in too as we improve our roads and expand our roads.
Our maintenance costs will go up.
The maintenance costs are gonna go way up, so we gotta figure that into the equation too.
Manpower is going to go up.
Yeah, and you gotta source that manpower.
Yeah,
So,
that's,
Because these numbers, I don't believe, are translating all that in here. This is where we was talking, and Brad Stump made the comment when he was in here at the council meeting, to put a whole study together, analysis study, it's gonna take a lot of time.
yes.
And cost.
I know that we're in a unforeseen circumstance here with the shortfall of the highway, and I know we have an obligation to do what we need to, you guys need to do, to keep us moving forward, I understand that. You know, we're spreading our dollars as far as we can at this point.
yeah.
You know, and we've done okay to maintain the current roads we have. Are they perfect? No.
No.
But they're decent, and we're improving. We've shown that in our asset before. We are progressing forward. You know, I do hear, the main people I hear when we talk about roads and conditions are people on the gravel roads that want them converted and chip sealed, and every one of them I've talked to has been in favor of the wheel tax and paying more money. But on the other side, I've heard people say, well, I'm fine with what we have. So I'm just sharing that information from what I hear. You know, as you guys in the council's got to make this decision. But I also know that we can only improve and do better with more money. But the highways is an expensive operation. There's nothing cheap about road maintenance or repairs or building roads. And to go in and do it right.
And law enforcement and roads are the two primary responsibilities or services that a county or municipality are to provide for taxpayers. And just to touch on something that you just mentioned, Ben, I had some conversation with all three school superintendents, and the gravel road situation is a concern for them, both from a safety standpoint and from a cost standpoint too. So east side, or DeKalb Eastern does a lot of maintenance work for
There's a lot of gravel over
four
there.
county areas. Yeah, and they run a lot of gravel roads, but they do Noble County buses and DeKalb County buses and a couple other counties. But anyway, Noble County with a lot of paved roads, or mostly all paved roads, their per bus maintenance cost is about $6,000 less than the DeKalb County bus that runs on gravel roads. So the school systems, it's about $180,000 a year, which is, of course, is taxpayer money too, so. But, I mean, that's just some additional information is in terms of gravel road conversions and why that's kind of a hot topic. You know, although, you know, I think it's fairly obvious that we need to look at our 1s, 2s, 3s, and 4s with more priority than conversions right now, for sure, to get those up to, and to keep that annual maintenance funded so that we don't have
Right.
fives turning into fours and
That's gonna be a
threes
thing,
and so
'cause
forth. I mean, we need to
Right.
keep that up.
Still got to keep up with our current roads or we're going to start deteriorating and let
Right,
those
yeah.
deteriorate.
Yeah, exactly.
You
So-
know, I'm-
I mean, this is, as Ben said, this is just kind of a high-level look. I mean,
Yeah,
it would have taken a long time to really dig into this information, but I
I
think
think-
it's pretty obvious from this that we've got to have some additional funding if we're going to keep
yeah.
our roads in shape. So the purpose of this is just for us to, approve this report and then let the council determine what
Yeah.
formula they want to use for the
Yeah.
sales tax.
you know, I'm going to work with whatever you guys give me.
Yeah.
And spread it out as best I can and do as much as we can like we always have.
I think we need more data. I think we need more input as far as maybe using this year as an example, and maybe even having a committee to go over these numbers and make recommendation maybe next year as far as the wheel tax goes. I'm not sure if we even implement the wheel tax, we've got the personnel to even to utilize those funds. I mean, yeah, we can put it in the bank and save it for future use, but as far as how are we going to spend it? Where are we going to spend it? How are we going to spend it without the manpower?
That's my concern is I think they could do the tax and bankroll the money if they wanted to, but I don't have a definite plan because again, I don't know where you're gonna get the help. And if outside resources, if you're gonna use for these conversions, you're gonna double or triple your cost versus what you can do,
There's-
you know?
There's really no way we can not outsource it.
You're right, that's what I'm saying.
They're just-
And right now, though, it's a bad time, but maybe a good time to collect some money, but a bad time to spend it, is what I'm saying.
Well, the
So-
conversions are really just a small part, 280,000.
Yeah, that's-
It's the maintenance backlog
Yeah.
that
It's getting our roads
really
up.
we need to address.
Yeah, getting our roads up and
Getting
maintaining
the
them.
other roads up to
Right.
grade now.
Because if you look at that, we've only thrown 280,000 in here for conversions, and that's
Right.
what we've been doing already.
Yeah, yeah,
We're averaging
that's-
about 3 mile a year.
yeah.
Yeah, and that's not very much, that's going to take forever to
It's
get
100
those.
years to do all the
Even
roads.
if we only do 50 or 75% of the gravel roads, if we only convert
Yeah.
half
Yeah,
of them.
It's a long-term
It's a
process,
long-term
yeah.
thing, 2 miles a year.
It's an effort toward it, but it's
Yeah.
a long-term
It's-
process. But Vince, what's your situation in terms of if you had that 950,000 in your available to you to do the ones, twos, threes, and fours, do you have this personnel? Do you have the resources to do it if you had the money?
Most of those will be contracted out.
Okay. So that doesn't increase our payroll or anything if that's contracted out. And the other 1.1 million of that, 635,000, and again, that 500,000 of our lit dollars is a arbitrary number, but he's still going to be upside down in 25, regardless, unless something drastic changes. So it makes sense that if the council is willing to do that, and despite what you might read on social media, I'm not a big fan of increasing taxes at all, but this tax is locally generated and it all stays here. It doesn't go to the state and come back to us. So if it's kind of the best form of tax if you're going to have one.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
have to agree.
Yeah, I agree with
Totally
that.
with that. And it is the best form of tax because it stays here. It doesn't get shifted down in Indianapolis and they skim off the top of
Diluted out.
what they want and send back with their blessings.
Right, yeah,
And us
exactly.
jumping through hoops to get it.
Exactly.
What's
So
left, so.
at a minimum, we're going to have to address, council's going to have to address some sort of a shortfall, depending on where they want to set the wheel tax, but we're going to be upside down in 25, so it only makes sense to start collecting that in 24 if they're amenable to doing that, so that we don't start 25 in the hole.
You see what I guess we can look at too, you see what we have, where we're at, and we're losing funding on top of it. So we're going to start to lose ground. So I guess
Yeah.
That's the thing we'll have to look at. I mean, if we're gonna increase it some to stay about even where we're at, or do even more to try to keep on improving. You know, I'm not an advocate for tax at all, guys. I'm not. I see our asset, I see our numbers, I see our budget, and it is concerning.
I got a question.
Sure.
If we do, if they do adopt the wheel tax, we will have to increase our man force, our workforce, maybe some equipment. Where does that money come from? Can that come out of the wheel tax funds, or is that not doable? Is that,
You
I don't
know,
believe it can
How's
come
it
out of the wheel
restricted?
tax.
But I'm not sure, Bill, that that's the case from what Ben just said. If he's going to contract it out, we're not going to have to.
Well, I think he's talking about maintaining the roads
Yeah.
going forward, the legacy cost, not the installation, but the legacy cost of maintaining them, proper plowing and
yeah.
patching it, micro seal, not micro seal, but you know.
My answer to Bill's question is, Bill, I don't believe it can come out of the wheel tax.
think
The
so.
wheel tax funds have to go directly into either the road or the bridge. Not to the personnel or anything else, but directly into that project. So, you know, contracting it out is probably the better solution for whatever money you get here. Couple of things that I would like to say about this. Number one, I appreciate what Ben and Mike and Brad and everybody have put together, because this is the kind of direction that the council is going to want to know tomorrow. What is this is the maintaining of the roads and the bridges is a responsibility of the commissioners, and having your suggestion or your recommendation as to what you would like to see done and how much you would need to accomplish that is something that the council needs before they can make a decision. Couple of things that I have heard from some of my discussion is, of course, not everybody wants their gravel road paved. And we already know that every gravel road, even if we wanted to, every gravel road is not going to get paved. There's some of them, it just doesn't make any sense at all to even try it. So that's why you need to have given us direction as to how much of the gravel roads you would like to pave in a year's time, or what would your desire to be after maybe a 10-year period or a 15-year period, because Todd is correct. I mean, it's going to take us quite a long time to pave these roads, and just so you need to have a standard. If you want to do 2 miles a year or 3 miles a year, hey, that's fine, but you also need to have a standard of, we're only going to pave a road that has 5 houses per mile or 10 houses per mile. Otherwise, you're going to get all kinds of problems with people coming in. They're one house in a mile's length, and they're all going to want their road paved. And you say, no, we're not going to do that. We can't. So you've got to make that decision. That's not something that the council can do. These funds can go to bridges. Now, the bridge is at the max levy right now. We are not going to get any more money in the bridge fund than what we do now. In order to address the lack of funding for bridges that we know we have, we increased the cum cap fund a number of years ago to cover bridges, so we have a section in there that's for bridges. The auditor just informed me the other day that there were some changes made that our cum cap rate is going to actually come down. So with that coming down and us needing to readdress it again, we're not going to get the money that we want for cum cap or for the bridges within that cum cap fund. So we need to deal with bridges. And the one thing I have heard on the outside from the farmers is, I don't really care if I have to drive my grain truck on a gravel road. Doesn't bother me. What bothers me is the fact that a bridge is down and I have to go 5 miles out of my way to take my product to market. So they're most concerned about those bridges, and we get those bridges up to snuff. So all of these factors are playing into this. We're not going to be short in 24. We know that. We're going to be short in 25. But if we wait until 25 to start, that money is not going to come immediately. It's going to be well into 25 before we actually have those funds. So these are all things that the council is going to have to consider tomorrow. I do think, it's good what Mike and Brad and Ben have been working on, but I do think that maybe it's to our advantage if we have a workable plan, whether it be a 5-year plan or a 10-year plan, that we're going to do these improvements over the course of 10 years. And to involve an engineering firm, let's get us a good plan so we know where we're going. We can't continue to knock this can down the road all the time because it's not going to get any better. It's just not.
My opinion on this is, I think it's inevitable the tax comes. And if I was gonna do it, just me personally, I'd go for the full thing all at once and just be done with it. And I'll tell you why. You're gonna need the money. And we can spend every penny that you throw our way. That's not a problem. We can spend 10 times what you can offer if we really wanted to. But I'm not advocating to raise taxes, don't get me wrong, I'm the most anti-tax person there is, but let's be realistic. And especially if you want to convert roads, but I think you're looking at a maximum of maybe 5 miles a year at the most of converting, just because manpower getting outside sources. So the money isn't really going to be the issue, but you might as well bankroll the big dollars if you're going to do it. To go and say, okay, we're only going to do 50%, and then later when you have to raise it again, there they are raising our taxes again.
What you're saying is exactly the advice I've been given by people that in other counties that have done this, and not necessarily just those around here, but some from much farther south. Because this is a fight you're going to have, and you want to do it once, or do you want to do it twice, or do you want to do it 3 times? You can, and I would agree with you. I'm not in favor of raising taxes. None of us are.
Right.
But as I've said in the past, what we have to decide is what level of service do we want, and then tax to that rate. Let's not overtax us, but let's not undertax us either. We still need good roads, good schools, good hospitals, things like that. We need to be at that point.
Well, roads, in my opinion, are the most important function of, and I don't want to say most important, like other places aren't important, so no one take this wrong, but without roads, we can't do anything.
Right.
Ambulances have to travel on them, police, we have to get to work, schools. Without roads, we're dead in the water.
Yep.
So it's ridiculous to let our roads go into disrepair. But again, my concern, Rick, is the manpower to keep them going again.
Understand.
The more we convert, the harder it is to maintain those. And so we need to be cognizant that we're going to need more money for the general
Well,
fund.
and, you're going to have, this, as to Bill's question, this money is got to be put directly into the roads.
Right.
Well, in doing that, what is currently being spent in the current budget on roads that you can move over so that now you've got
Right.
room to hire more people or to give the kind of pay rates that they need in order to maintain their staff, because that's something else that's important. But if we don't start now, we're going to continue to kick this can down the road. And, okay, let's do a 5-year plan next year. Well, next year comes along, oh, we don't want to do it. No, let's do the 5-year plan the following year. And we never get anywhere. So we've got to make a decision, and the council will have a few decisions tomorrow. They can decide to not pass it at all, which we've done in the past. We have voted down the wheel tax a number of times over the last 15 years. Or we can vote to implement the tax that would start in January of '24. The rate being a question, a middling or highest, lowest, whatever, that is a question. Or the third, if we were to delay it until after September 1, we could pass it, but it would not take effect until January of '25. But the problem with that being that your money is not going to be there when you need it. It's going to come down later. So those are the decisions the council's got to make, and we appreciate the direction that you're giving us. And just let us know, what do you want to do? 2 miles a year of gravel road? Hey, that's fine with me. You want to raise 10 miles of road that are under 5 to above 5? That's the kind of information we need so that we know how much money we can give you. And don't forget, we're going to meet tomorrow on this, but then we're going to start the 24 budget next week. Or is it the week after? Is it next week?
It's next Wednesday.
Next week. We're going to start meeting on the 24 budget. We're going to need to know what money is available for us to budget for you, because we don't want Ben to get behind in the things he needs to accomplish.
Agree with that.
So,
And that's why I'm saying, if you implement, even if we don't spend the money right away, you can start bankrolling some money and we get that fund going and not get caught shorthanded later.
right.
So I think Ben's given you pretty comprehensive data here that we're not sure exactly how we'll do it. Because again, the manpower to do it, the outsourcing might not be available. In my mind, I would like to see 4 or 5 miles a year instead of 2 or 3. But whether or not it could even be done is questionable. But I'd like to see that, because I'll be the first to tell you, I can't believe anyone even buy a house on a gravel road. I won't even drive down them. My wife drives down them, it makes me mad, because it's
The only
$100
time I
to get
ever
the
have
car
to drive
running
down
again.
a gravel road is right after I wash my car.
Yeah, exactly, and it is frustrating, but I do hear the people too that say, I don't want my gravel road paved because I don't want people on my road. Well, it's not your road, number
Absolutely.
one, but I do understand, but then again, let's be honest, you know, it's, most people want them paved.
Yeah, absolutely, they do. And I will tell you that
More than not.
Connie Miles and I used to debate this all the time, because if it were up to me, I would not pave a single road in the county. Because all that does is encourage people to move out there. And then what do? They still need fire protection,
Yeah.
and it's rough on those fire trucks to run down those gravel roads. You need police protection, the extra police protection, and down that gravel road. You have people that moved out there from the city that want to complain about the fact that pigs and cows smell.
Yeah.
And the dust is always out there. So, that was just something between Connie and I. I know that that's not realistic. I've debated with a couple of people as to whether it's easier to maintain a gravel road versus a paved road. I've heard it both ways. But it is what it is. We need to have some standards. We need to have some direction as to how much money we need to make sure that we have adequate roads and that Ben has what he needs to support maintaining those roads. So I appreciate the fact that you're going to give us some direction.
The other piece I would like to, I guess, just be transparent about is if a wheel tax is enacted, one of the things that can be used is it can also be used for grant match dollars, which Ben, as you know, I mean, he saves the county tons of money writing his own grants and getting them approved each year, where other counties, they pay tons to have somebody write their grants. But that is a piece that is available. So, like what Rick said with the employees being paid from the highway, we could flip things around with the grant matches. Then there would be additional money in the other funds that we have earmarked for, like, say, rainy day, for something that actually happens that is not planned.
She's correct on that too, Bill, because just like with our County Road 56 project, the wheel tax money could pay the match on that, or the County Road 60 project we're just talking about. It could help
makes
fund
sense.
that.
It's a great match. Yeah.
The other part, when Rick was talking about the cumulative capital development rate, so that rate has always automatically trended down, like it just automatically goes down. And I believe that it was either July of this year or January of next year that they are now no longer going to trend that down. So if you have enacted the higher rate, then it's going to stay at that rate and not ever come back down. And so I reached out to DLGF and asked, since we enacted that, because we went up to that in 2016 maybe, when we went up to, I said, well, since we've went up to that, does that mean ours now will not trend down? And he told me no, we would have to redo the whole thing to get it back to the 0.333 high rate. And 42% of that, when we increased that, I think you were here, weren't you? I can't remember. 42% of that, when the vote was to increase that rate, was and still is slated specifically for Ben for bridges.
And I think that might have been either just before or just after Bill
Yeah, I
came
can't
on.
I think it was just
Commissioner.
before.
You might have just been at the meeting, and I
think
remembered.
I think I was, yeah. That's a long time ago.
All right?
My memory's a lot shorter than time nowadays, but.
I get it.
Anyway, I would just had a comment to make. I would hope the council could come up with some ideas, and this is going to take thinking outside the box of ways to offset this wheel tax increase, if it is enacted. And I think there are ways to do it. I think there might be some suggestions tomorrow to that effect, but we'll see. But it's like I say, it's going to take some thinking outside the box to come up with ways to offset that.
Couple of footnotes, just related. Obviously, we're not the only county in the state that is fighting this battle as far as highway and road and street funding. That's one of the top items for the IACC Legislative Committee as far as drafting legislation and working with the lobbyists in the next session. We've got a short session coming up, and I think AIC's has it on their radar too. We've got to continue to work on the legislature to look a lot harder at how much funding comes back to the individual counties for road and streets. So that's a big priority.
Well, I know one of the issues that the County Council Association is working on is the adding additional definitions to what is restricted and unrestricted, because that's one of our biggest issues we have with the highway funding is where it can be spent.
Yeah.
So we are working on making that change.
Yeah.
You know, the other
IACC
thing
is
that
good.
was extended this year was they extended the additional tax that's in your gasoline tax, so that will continue to fund community crossings. That's where that community crossings money comes from. So that is out there.
And extended
What-
extended the indexing for a few more years too. So that's
What-
about
what-
19 million a year.
What is my concern, because I don't appreciate what the thought has been, how are you going to address the hybrid and the electric vehicles? And I keep hearing more and more about we're going to charge you for how many miles you drive. Now, how are you going to figure out how many miles you drive? You know, you've got some, I'm actually having to go look at this with my wife's car because she doesn't drive very much. My insurance company offers a system where she ties in the mileage and her phone and all this other stuff, see how this works. I don't know that I want the government tracking how many
Don't want
miles
them
I
doing
drive.
that,
That's
yeah.
just, you know, it's just not setting well with me at all. But that is one of the options out there.
Well, the correct answer, Rick, if we're honest, is just do a flat rate for cars, flat rate for trucks. This is what your plates cost, and be done. Get rid of the gas tax completely. You know, and I know we get some gas tax money through transients, but you know, semi drivers are really smart. If there's a high tax in a state, they hold 200 gallons of those rigs.
Well,
200.
just having come back
they don't
from-
need to stop.
Just having come back from New Jersey on vacation, and I saw what the gas prices were in Indiana, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and New Jersey.
Yeah,
I prefer buying my gas in Ohio and New Jersey.
absolutely. Michigan even,
Yeah, well,
and Michigan's the highest tax ever is cheaper
and I also
gas.
hate to tell you what I paid for the tolls
Oh.
on the toll road between
Isn't that
here and New
insane?
Jersey.
It's insane. You pay as much on tolls as you do in the gas.
Pretty
If
much,
more.
pretty
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, if you pay
No, I agree
cash.
with you though, Ed, but the EVs, they've already addressed it a little. I think on a Prius, you pay like $50 extra, and then a full electric, you pay $100, but that doesn't cover the road use.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, but yeah, that's a whole different story, but there's gonna need to be big changes made.
And hopefully, you know, Travis Holdman has got his tax committee meeting this summer and next year, where they want to revamp the entire tax structure in Indiana.
I'm all for
Well,
that.
you know, they want to do away with the income tax, the state income tax, and a number of other things. They've been trying to do away with the business personal property tax over the last few years. That is going to be painful for us if they don't give us a replacement, because that's 30% of our budget. And I know of a certain place in central Indiana where it's 70% of their budget. So
Really?
you're not going to be able to wipe it away completely. You just can't do it. So,
Unless there's a replacement of some.
yeah, there's got to be a
It can be
replacement of some
done. It
kind.
it can be done,
Yeah.
yeah, but it's
Well,
going to take some minds that's willing to do
It,
it.
it can be, you know, you got the Florida and Texas example, but you know, they're making their money. But you know what? It's coming from here and there, and it's from a lot of different places, and it's not relatively noticeable. But,
Florida also has, you know, a 12% innkeeper's tax on everything, and you have Disney and property values there are much higher. They have a much bigger tax base from, so just because one state works one way doesn't mean it works in another.
exactly.
But I do think we have too many taxes, too many directions, too many fingers in the pie. They could simplify it for sure.
Yeah, well, and hopefully that's what they do. Hopefully that's what they do.
And I'd like to see that.
Yeah, all right.
Get that
Anything
done,
else?
would you? Get that done for us.
We're
would
gonna
you?
try.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Okay. Any other comments on that discussion? If not, we will move on then. Looks like next thing, ordinance 2023-0-6, DCC 9-1-1-39. Establish a speed limit on County Road 20 between the intersections of County Road 23 and County Road 27.
Before you jump to that, Bill, just maybe clarify, or do we have a consensus to present this information to the council tomorrow?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, I think so.
absolutely. Okay, speed limit.
Well, I read Mike's email and I responded to it that I'd like to see basically all our county roads at 45, just because there's many reasons. One reason is there's already drives and intersections, well, like that one I mentioned that you said is already 40 mile per hour there on 60 and 11A, but I think that, I just think we're starting to get densely populated enough. It was okay at 55 when there was half the houses that were out, you know, in the 50s versus now. And I'd like to, you know, we'd have to have a study for that, but I think this road here is a good test case to see if there's any kickback on it to start with. But this road, I'm telling you, I don't care what the traffic studies say. I drove that road with Ben and in his truck, and I said, this isn't safe at 55. I think Ben would agree with me that that road is, words in your mouth, but I think we discussed that, yeah, 45 is plenty fast on this road.
And that's what traffic's running.
Yeah, and that's what they're currently running. The thing is, if you post 45, they run 55 anyway. You go on County Road 35, people run 70 down that road.
Oh, they'll be running 80 in a couple weeks.
Yeah, because it'll be nice.
That'd be nice, yeah.
But
But nobody is actually running
No.
for 55 on County Road 20. At
Right.
this moment, and there's no accident history or anything. And the only point of my suggestion was, and this goes back to city council days, you know, we did a traffic ordinance that covered speed limits, and all the changes, stop signs, traffic controls, and all of that in one ordinance. So my suggestion was, you know, there's really no urgency. This speed limit's been 55 forever, and there's no accident history at all. So it'd be a good opportunity while we're looking at roads in general. Let's look at the speed limits in some of these bad spots. Like, for instance, County Road 40 on the west end going into Noble County. You know, and there, you know, there's, I think, some spots around town.
Oh, okay.
And we could do a single ordinance that would address the speed limit changes on all of those roads. That was just my thoughts.
I'm thinking we have multiple safety issues on that stretch of road at present, besides the condition of the road, and that we should address that sooner than later and go back to the legislature again next session with some real push to lower these county road speed limits to 45 miles an hour. Yeah, it was in session in the legislature last year. It passed what the House did not get through the Senate. So I think it has a chance, if it's rewritten, maybe in a better form, to get passed. So I'd like to move ahead on this one ordinance, get it behind us and done with, and then really push the state to lower these speed limits.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think the secondary roads, that's just my opinion. When I say
Oh, I
secondary,
think-
the gravel and these type of roads all ought to be 45. And then our main highways that we,
So you want like the state statute is to read all county rural roads 45 mile an hour except elsewise posted.
yeah.
Like it
that's-
is now, it's
Yeah,
55.
the main
except
corridors, like 427 and maybe even 35.
And again, we have things that we didn't have 50, 60 years ago. We have a lot of Amish on the roads now and that are going 7 to 10 mile an hour. And if a car's running 55, 60, we have farm tractors on the road. We have more housing additions going out in the country, more density, schools, more school stops, on and on and on.
Yeah.
It just, to me, especially these gravel roads, people running 60, 70 mile an hour down them, just talk about a dust storm, even. So I think it's a good test bed, and I just think this one's dangerous. I really do. I drove it, and I know Mike says, hey, they only drive 45 anyway. Well, good, let's make the speed limit that.
Yeah.
Obviously, the people realize that 45's plenty fast.
Well, and I think we've admitted there's safety factors there.
Yeah.
So if we don't.
It's a dangerous road.
To me, if we don't lower the speed limit, we may be liable for litigation if there is a bad situation.
I think one of the elephants in the room is what do we do about everybody else that might come in, let's say the next 5 people that want to have their speed limits lowered on their roads. If we do it for Run Road, then you're kind of opening it up for everybody else to call Ben Parker next week. I mean, hopefully they don't, but, and say, hey, let's lower the speed limits.
Well,
It could open a Pandora's
Well,
box.
and there again, we tell them, call your legislature. Get the thing, change the state level for all the roads.
Well, here's the thing,
It's one
though.
and done.
I have a real problem with, we want to keep local control on the health department and everything else. I got a real problem with the state shoving a one-size-fits-all speed limit down the county's throats.
They do anything, they do anyway. We got a one-size-fit-all, and it's too high. So what's wrong with doing a one-size-fit-all that's lower?
Well, it would be better if they gave the counties the option to,
I'd agree.
Yeah.
I'd agree.
We already
Do
have that
away with the
option, though.
state, do away with the state mandate
Yeah,
altogether. Let the counties decide the speed
and
limits.
work with the engineers and.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree.
No, I agree with that.
1,000% agree.
Yeah.
Why doesn't the state trust the local county commissioners to figure out what a good speed is? You're not going to make a dirt road 80 miles an hour.
It's called the golden rule.
Yeah.
They have the gold, they make the rules.
Oh, there you go.
I think you'll find that bill that Bill was discussing was defeated in the legislature last year because LTAP and the professionals thought that the commissioners in the 92 counties would be making changes without studies, without justification, based on political whims or who their friends were.
Sure.
So it was defeated for that exact reason. So to do anything other than require a full study for any road changes in speeds is absolutely wrong. It's not going to go anywhere. It's unfair to everybody else in the county. So.
That is the Indiana code we have to follow.
Well, and that was the issue with 1467 is taking the requirement for a study out is where it got stalled. LTAP and AIC were opposed to that.
Well, and I would be
IACC
opposed to
was
it
not,
too
yeah.
if I had a business of doing studies and you were going to remove the study requirement, I would be up in arms too. If I built my livelihood around doing, I'm not saying studies are wrong, don't get me wrong, but you got to look at the source there a little too.
Yeah, look
you
at
know.
the purpose and the fact that they didn't make a recommendation, did a study and didn't make a recommendation because road condition doesn't figure into speed limits.
And that's part of the
That's-
problem I
that's right.
had with that is and the road is all there, don't get me wrong, but
They
it's
do play a factor into it. I mean, but there's really, I mean, there's no narrow bridges on that. There's no that sharp curves. You know, the one driveway that's in potential harm at this point is posted hidden drive sign up there at this point.
right.
The traffic's not running, they're running a reasonable speed. NERC didn't make a recommendation because in most cases, they wouldn't, because it comes down to precedence and policy. What you feel is warranted. You know, and the grand scheme where you had two, what I remember looking at, you had two Renegades up there that was running excessive speed, and they're going to run that probably regardless of whatever's up there.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You know, that's what it's going to come down to is precedence and policy, guys. That's why, I mean, per the MUTCD, you can post it within 5 mile an hour, 85th percentile. You know, but I always lean on NERC for their recommendation and guidance, because I'm also going to lean on them when I get backed in the corner by lawyers and with everything else to follow them in their recommendations. So if I'm just always like to follow what they.
My point though is on this, regardless of what their recommendation is, you can never go wrong by being more conservative and lean more towards safety. And that's my point on this. I've driven that road and it's not a safe road. You can do any study you want. I'm telling you, I wouldn't even drive a motorcycle down that road at 55 mile an hour. It's just not, it's just a rough, dangerous road.
Unfortunately, there's a lot like it.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, and I'm not, I wouldn't argue with your
Oh, I know you're not.
analysis of
I
that
know. I know.
at all. I just think, and to Andrew's point, you open a can of worms here and
That's my
Ben gets
concern.
a bunch of stuff dumped in his.
But maybe we
Well,
need that
yeah,
to hear
Need a
from
can
the
of
people that
worms.
live there. Maybe we need to hear from the people. I'll give you an idea. I live on Morningstar Road, which is in Auburn.
right.
People drive 50 and 60 mile an hour down that road. And I told the city of Auburn, I want some of them radar signs that say your speed, you know what I'm saying? And start writing some big tickets.
They set those out there.
Because it's dangerous. You know, it's dangerous to drive fast down that road. And I think we have to be proactive. When we see something that is wrong, I think we should act on it. And to me, this road's wrong, but
Okay, I will entertain a motion if somebody wants to make one to pass this resolution,
do we need
this
to
ordinance.
read the ordinance title here? Did we already do that? No, that's okay. I would move that we adopt ordinance 2023 0-6 DCC 91139.
I have a second?
If you want to.
I will second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, the same.
Aye.
Ordinance. It is passed.
That was the first reading on that. Are you going to do the next two now or do the next two next week?
We
I'd
probably, we have to have 100% in order to,
We'd have to be unanimous, and we're not, so we'll have to do the other two next week.
we'll do it next week.
So can I have a copy of that? I haven't seen it.
No, it's a surprise. You have to sign it
Oh,
to
if
find
I'm
out what's in
supposed-
it.
If I'm supposed to post it, I need to know what I'm posting.
Another one of those Pelosi bills,
Don't you know
right?
how this works? We're following the federal guidelines.
Yeah.
Just need to put a sign up, I go out and flip the numbers.
Yeah, just flip the numbers.
But it won't be set until next week.
That's fine, but I
Okay,
gotta,
just so you know.
He'd like to review
I
it.
don't know.
Yeah,
what
I'll send it to you, but just so you know.
I gotta make sure I even got the signs. Okay, I don't have anything else for you guys.
You want all that passed?
You don't have anything else?
No, that's just,
Yeah, I go say,
that's just my pile there.
I think that was his pile too.
that was your pile too?
Yeah. There we go.
Okay. We have anything else? Anybody have any miscellaneous? Last call. And we are done. Meeting is adjourned.
All right.
Thank you, everyone.
Marion today to see us.
All right.
Oh, what a nice scenic drive.
Aye.